Welcome in to Check the Mic. We're live on YouTube. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. It's time for our Divisional Round review, Sam. We're doing it on Sunday night instead of Monday morning, just like last week, last couple of weeks. We couldn't wait. We couldn't wait to start reacting to these games.
Yeah, crazy weekend of football, crazy game that we just saw the end of with the Rams and Bears, and three awesome matchups, and the other one.
And an awesome one for Seahawks fans. We're going to go through all of it. We usually go in order, but since we are here on a Sunday night and we just saw the Los Angeles Rams get the win over the Bears 20-17, we're going to start with that. So here we go. Rams 20, Bears 17. Rams move on to the NFC Championship for the rubber match against the Seattle Seahawks. What a wild game this was. The Bears, with whatever that was, Caleb Williams, 14-yard touchdown that was a 40-yard Hail Mary to tie the game. They kick the extra point to make sure that it's tied. They don't go for two. We're going to break down all of this stuff. But that makes it 17-17. We go to overtime. Both teams trade possessions, but it's the Rams who get the walk-off field goal to get the win and to set up another trip to Seattle against the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of went it came down to what they always come down to with the Bears, right? Which is it's back and forth, but ultimately the Bears are down by a score with Caleb Williams, ball in his hand. It literally ended up in exactly the same situation. A minute 50, down 7, at the 50-yard line. Caleb Williams has the ball in his hands. Let's see. Can he make the comeback? And somehow he does. He executes this miracle comeback. I think you have a huge decision then. They decide to kick the point instead of going for two to win the game with, 20 seconds left, 17 seconds, something like that. It ends up going to overtime, and then you need him to do it again. And as is the case, Caleb Williams with these crazy late-game magician drives is kind of 50-50. So if you've already gotten one, you might not get another one, and they end up getting an interception out of it, and the Rams end up getting the win.
I don't even know where to start as far as key plays. Every single one of these close games, I have like pages of notes, and then I just want to work backwards through all of the key decisions. So do you want to start in overtime? I mean, the Bears, and then how we got there. The Bears win the toss. They kick. That has been the most common play here in overtime, right?
To get the ball second.
Yeah, they choose to get the ball second, right? They choose to kick in overtime. They stop the Rams on 3rd and short. And then it's, all right, Caleb Williams with the ball in his hands once again. And he throws the interception, which was just an incredible diving pick from Cameron Curl. I know I saw the chat asking, hey, you guys ready to go? You in the studio? What are you doing? We were in here watching the second half together, and I know you were going nuts watching that play. It looked like DJ Moore, who's running the deep over route, starts to take it high. I don't know if it would have been accurate or not because we're projecting, and half of Caleb Williams' throws were off by a mile in this game and generally.
And every other game.
But, and that's not a knock on Caleb. He did some great things too. But had he stayed on the route, we'll see what would have happened. But what an incredible interception by Cameron Curl, which ended up turning things around for the Rams.
It really was. I mean, he was the backside safety on that play. He's the guy that's supposed to follow that deep over, and he ends up breaking on the ball, great burst to it, and then successfully completing the catch in, not good conditions. I mean, this is the thing in the background or the context of this game. It's cold. It's feels like temperature of 7 degrees or something. There's some wind. There's sort of light snow dusting everywhere. So these are not great conditions for anybody. If you're a safety making that catch late in the game in overtime to effectively get possession back and get a chance to win the game, absolutely huge play from Cameron Curl. And as you said, there's also the element of, where exactly was DJ Moore going on that play? Why did he take his route where he took it? Definitely seemed to be a factor in the play. Who knows how much of one based off the beat on it that Cam Curl had.
Now I'm going to go back out of order here. Here we go. Watch this. It was 10-10 at the half.
It was.
And I think the second half flow was interesting, right? There was a point in the game where the Rams, I can't believe me, Steve Palazzolo, I cannot believe all weekend I was the one saying, why aren't teams running the ball more often? Why are you throwing the ball so much?
I mean, particularly this game.
And I said this to teams like the Rams and the Broncos who won their games. So take that for what it's worth. But in the first half, there was a point in the Rams' offensive game flow here where they had 34 dropbacks and only 10 runs from their running backs, 1 run from Jordan Whittington on a jet sweep. And then they finally when they finally decided to run the ball a little bit in the second half, they put together was a 14-play, 91-yard drive, middle of the third quarter. And that was one of the defining drives here. They had just punted in 6 out of their last 7 drives with a field goal in the middle of it. And they started to get the run game going, which they had, right? I mean, they even just like the beginning of the second half, they go run, first down, and then it was the jet sweep, and it just took them out of their rhythm. They never got into this rhythm. They had their great first drive. A bunch of is this just the season here, Sam? The number of teams that we said they look great for this one drive, and then they disappeared for 5, 6, or 7. But when they got back to running the ball and they found some rhythm, and that got the Rams up 17-10. I thought that was that entire drive, huge turning point in the game. Obviously, it gave them a 7-point lead.
It was, yeah. It was weird, but so because of the fact that it went to overtime, the late running, both teams ended up with a lot of carries overall. But even late in the game, like with the Rams in field goal range, but not such good field goal range that you're super comfortable kicking from there. The Rams are still taking shots at the end zone on back-to-back plays on 2nd and 7, 3rd and 7, instead of just, how about we try and chip 4 more yards away and then 4 more yards away and then 4, let's run the ball until we're at, 25-yard field goal and one that you can't really miss. Instead, they just take 2 random shots at the end zone and then settle for that 42-yard field goal, which he ends up making. But yeah, it felt like both of these teams should have been leaning far more into the run game when neither quarterback was efficient in this game.
So then we get to, the Bears trying to make their comeback attempts. They drive down. And so the end of game sequence, the end of regulation sequence, the Bears drive down. They get to, the 2-yard line. And they have a 4th and goal from the 2. And, second straight week, we come down to a lot of 4th downs. The Bears end up 3 for 6 on 4th down. They converted 1 in overtime. But I thought that was a key play. Again, you and I are sitting there watching it together. I'm like, watch Luther Burden to see Burden was in the backfield, offset, not in a one of those. He's in the backfield, but he's not getting a handoff. You're setting up some kind of route. I thought he was going to run out to the flat. They run the little Texas angle route, and it gets knocked down. That was 4th. What was that? 4th and it was 4th down in the 4th quarter. And that looked like that could have been it, right? That was the first big comeback attempt for Caleb Williams and the Bears in the 4th quarter.
What a great play by Omar Speight. Pass breakup, reads it. I mean, you're right. They to a certain degree, they kind of telegraphed it where you're like, hey, Luther Burden's in the backfield-ish. He's, they're probably dialing up something for him. And they did. They dialed up that kind of angle route that's always open when it's a running back on a linebacker. But Omar Speight was just like, I think this is what you're running, and just read it the whole way, broke on it, broke it up, didn't let them get that. That's a huge play that stops them getting in the first time around, and then you get the absolute madness of the drive that did end up tying it.
So let's go through this. So that was with 3:06 left in the 4th. I found it. Overtime messed me up with my play-by-play here. That was 4th and goal from the 2. The Bears go for it. They're down 7. Of course, they got to go. And Spates breaks it up in the end zone. Great play. So then the Rams have a drive where they're backed up, and there's 3:03 left. You're starting the drive from the 2, and they go first down run for a first. They pick up a first down on 2 plays, and then they start the second set of downs with 2:52 left, and they go run, and that was the sequence a lot of people were questioning, right? So you get out from the shadow of the goal line on 2 plays, and then you have a chance. A first down doesn't necessarily win it, but a first down at least forces the Bears to use all their timeouts. Maybe you punt it, and then they have very limited time remaining. But the big question, they go run for -2, and then they run it again for 2. So you got 3rd and 10, 2:07 left. The Bears have 1 timeout remaining, and they hand it off again. And that was a big question because you're basically saying we're punting. We're going to go to the 2-minute warning, we're going to punt, and we're going to give Caleb Williams 2 minutes with 1 timeout and hope we make the stop. And so what were your thoughts on that 3rd and 10 from the Rams? Should they have thrown? Because if they had thrown it and it was incomplete, you're still going to punt and you're going to go right to the 2-minute warning. And that was the other thing. That was the other issue is when they punted, it was 33 yards and it just stopped dead. Yeah. At the 50. You set the Bears up at the 50-yard line.
Well, and the Bears, they didn't have a return guy back for that, right? They went all out to try and block the punt. And so getting only 33 yards out of a punt where they don't have a return man is like malpractice. I mean, if you tell the punter there's no return guy, just boot it as far as you can possibly boot it. You no longer have to worry about out-kicking your coverage, about any of the concerns you normally have about kicking the ball too far,
Kick it as far as you can.
Right,
Hope you get a bounce.
Bury the damn thing. It'll bounce 30 yards. Instead, he like an absolute awful punt that just sort of drops at the 50 and sets them up in perfect field position. I think the fact that they lost yardage on the first down run was the real issue, right? The fact they didn't get much of it back with the second down run. Point is, it's 3rd and 10. And it's like at that point, if it had been 3rd and 6, maybe the team would have been happy enough to run some kind of play action fake, try and pick up 6 yards on a pass, confident enough that you don't have to do anything too risky. 3rd and 10, it's like if you're passing, A, it's not that likely that you're going to pick it up in the first place. B, you're probably running stuff that's lower percentage that has a greater chance of being incomplete and stopping the clock. And so
the clock shouldn't have been an issue there, though, because they would punt it. That would take you to the 2-minute warning anyway.
But it would stop
the same way a run took you to the 2-minute warning.
If you'd stopped the clock, it would have stopped it before the 2-minute warning.
Right, but then you're going to punt, and the time of the punt will take you to the 2-minute warning, just like the run will take you to the 2-minute warning. It's effectively the same thing. Because they punted at the 2-minute warning.
It's a play. It's stopping the clock. Or it's a play earlier.
Right. So you run the ball for 3 yards.
Yeah.
The clock runs to the 2-minute warning. You come out of the 2-minute warning and you punt it, and that takes you to like 150.
Right.
If you throw it incomplete,
clock stops. Then you
clock
have to
stops.
punt.
Say there's 2:02 left.
So you've saved the play.
Then you punt, and it takes you to like 157, 156. I mean, it's like 5 or 6 seconds maybe. It's not a lot.
But it's it's
not a lot.
It's a play that you're saving as opposed to on the stop of a clock.
It was probably, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was probably worth the risk unless you just don't trust Stafford. And for most of the game, you certainly trusted Stafford. I was a little surprised. It felt like the Rams could have run the ball earlier, more often. And look, it's not all the play call that comes in. Stafford's got control at the line of scrimmage. He's seeing things. He's trying to make plays. But it was a very pass-heavy game script against a Bears run defense that looked like they were having some success against early on. So then we get to the game-tying drive for the Bears, which involved the 4th and 4. But leading up to that, man, I know we've said this a lot about Caleb Williams, and I want to appreciate the high-end moments and the special and everything. It is amazing how you go back and forth between him missing high in particular and just throwing absolute laser beams. Or in the overtime case, picking up a first down with his legs, with he's so fast.
Yeah.
He is so fast. His acceleration and burst, it's different from like Mahomes, where you're just like, oh, he's faster than everybody. He's faster than the guy chasing him, and he just gets it. With Caleb Williams, you're like, man, he's fast. Like he's outrunning dudes and picking stuff up that he probably shouldn't with his legs. So the special physical tools with he looked calibrated high again on a lot of throws.
Yeah. Now you have to at least sort of factor in that in this particular game, I mean, Stafford was off as well. Like neither quarterback was efficient. And
I think every quarterback today, and maybe this entire weekend, had their issues. But today in particular, was a lot of inaccuracy. It was difficult throwing conditions.
And particularly when you say, look, it's single-digit temperatures, it's windy in Chicago.
Yep.
There's snow on the ground, and both quarterbacks were missing all over the place. Then you're like, okay, you have to sort of, that has to color your analysis of Caleb Williams. Problem is, this is him kind of most weeks where it looks like this, right? He's generally, 50%, 55% type of completion rate quarterback, but the ones that he's completing are insane and special. And even then, on top of that, you've also got plays that some receivers aren't making. Like he threw a touchdown to Rome Odunze in the first drive, and Rome Odunze doesn't catch it. Right? That's an incompletion. That's part of his 50% incompletion rate. It's not on him. That's a good pass. But he is a wildly sort of frustrating quarterback where late in the games, when you put him in these do-or-die drive situations, he is so hard to stop from a defensive point of view because he's faster than most of your defenders. He's so much stronger than you think he is. He can get his way out of tackles, sacks, everything. And he's, incredibly athletic, dynamic, and just run around. Also throw a laser from anywhere to anywhere, deliver passes that just don't look on. It's just so impossible to get him off the field when he knows that all he has to do is he's got four attempts effectively to make something special happen. And for a guy that makes, 50% of his plays, that's probably 2 attempts more than he needs. So But it's the lack of kind of down-to-down efficiency for the rest of the game that puts them in these situations over and over again.
It finally hit me tonight as we were watching, and I turned to you and I said, who does he remind me of, Sam? Cam Newton. His game reminds me a lot of Cam Newton. Now, obviously, they're very different in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. Cam is, I want to say, one of one from a size and power perspective, but Josh Allen also exists, but, two of two when it comes to that, freak size and strength and what Cam Newton brought to the table. Caleb Williams is not part of the design run game the way Cam Newton was, but from a passing perspective, I don't know how many of our current viewers and listeners were listening to us, 8 to 10 years ago when Cam was in the league, but we talked about him a lot. We used the phrase calibrated high all the time as far as he just threw the ball high all the time, outside the numbers, over the middle of the field, had an absolute cannon velocity-wise, did not throw underneath often. It was a lot of 10 to 25-yard passes, right? It was a lot of chunk plays. He'd hit, deep outs and seam routes and everything. So it was a lot of it was Jameis-y as far as the pass game goes. It was like a boom or bust, like you're going to create a chunk play or you're going to miss the throw or whatever it might be, but just some overall inaccuracy from Cam Newton. And I'm like, man, I'm seeing a lot of this with Caleb Williams. And it's one of those, like, if you just hit a couple more of those, like Cam did in his MVP season, right? Cut back on a few of the negatives, have a few more of the special plays that you've showed you're capable of doing every week. You put together an MVP caliber season. To me, that's the story of Cam Newton's career, which was a whole bunch of pretty good seasons, good above average starting seasons, and one elite season where he put it all together. But he was always capable of that high-end play. I see a lot of that in Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it really is just the kind of inconsistency and the frustration that comes from that, because the Bears defense did a really good job in this game. Like, the Bears defense has not really shown this kind of level of play or the capacity to shut down an offense as good as this for a while now. They did a really good job against this Rams offense. They ended up with quite a lot of yards because we played, an extra quarter, because they got more opportunities with the turnovers. But generally, the Bears defense really held up its end of the bargain. And if the Bears offense had been more efficient and made some of the plays that were there, they should have won this game. Like I said, there was Odunze drops a touchdown the first drive. It's an interception a couple of plays later. I mean, that's a 7-point mistake by Odunze on this occasion.
That was their first fourth down. That was, by the way, the second straight week on fourth down. They go for it. Caleb Williams throws the ball. There's a miscommunication, or he misses the pass, and it's picked off instead of just knocked down by the defense.
And then you just have these sort of small mistakes, small inefficiencies throughout the rest of the course of the game. They don't put the points on the board that they potentially should have, and let the Rams have the lead for most of the game and then never get out of sight.
All right, so we get to the 4th and 4. There's 27 seconds left. It's on the Rams 14. The poor box score just does not tell the story. It just says, C. Williams pass short left. Yeah. Short left. Mm-hmm. Because that's how, if you ever read the NFL game books or NFL GSIS, anything under 15 yards they call short. Anything over 15 yards they call deep. It's just this simple. So this was a pass short left to Cole Kmet for 14 yards, touchdown. Jared Verse got a QB hit on the play. Yeah. The box score does not do justice for that 14-yard touchdown. Let's go through it.
We threw a 50-yard, 14-yard touchdown.
It was crazy. So, again, we're sitting here watching the game. It's 4th and 4. So you got to throw it up somehow. As soon as he started the scramble and the vacate backwards, I'm screaming.
He sprinted.
I'm laughing like this is not going to work.
He dead sprinted in the exact opposite direction of the end zone.
Yes.
He sprinted towards his own end zone in the opposite direction of where he's trying to go on the play, because the Rams got pressure early. And you're like, that's it. Done. Play's over.
I'm literally yelling that. I'm standing up and I'm pacing because I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care. I'm just enjoying good football, but I'm yelling, this will not work.
There you go. NGS says it was, in fact, a 51.2-yard pass in the air.
Do we have that tweet? I put it up there. The other part of it, so NGS also said he was 26.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
This is Madden stuff. No quarterback since 2016 has completed a pass from a depth of more than 22 yards. So 26.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Chucks it from the 40 or whatever it was, right? To the middle of the end zone.
Pretty much exactly the 40, going backwards at the time.
And so when you do the scramble thing, usually it's like I'm just buying time to get away from the rush. At some point, I'm going to try to gain ground again and get back closer to the line of scrimmage. He said, nah, I'll get back to the 40. So he chucks it up.
He ran in a dead sprint in the opposite direction, and then at some point, instead of like trying to gain positive yardage, he just stopped, turned in the correct, like oriented himself in the right direction, and then just heaved the ball.
And then he threw it to the middle of the end zone. And we were talking about it, right? It's kind of like a Hail Mary, right? Once you get to that point, just put it in the end zone. You're not going to be throwing it up and away from coverage. It's got to be, the ball's in the air for so long, it's got to be some level of luck at that point. Cole Kmet is just there, and then Kobe Durant, who is in tight coverage on top of Cole Kmet, is no longer there. And they're calling for a push-off. There's no real push-off. Durant just lost his footing, and Kmet catches it. And we're all stunned. And we're like, Caleb has done it again, and it was unorthodox, and it didn't look like it should have worked, but it worked.
I mean, my two kind of takeaways from that play. The first one is, what is he doing? He's running in the exact opposite direction when he needs 4 yards in this play. This is basically done. Then he heaves the ball into the end zone, and the second reaction is like, what did Kobe Durant just do on that play? Like, where did he go? Because he's all over Cole Kmet, and then Kmet just adjusts to the ball. Durant doesn't, and he ends up like 5 yards away from him, begging for a push-off, which honestly really wasn't there. Kmet disengaged and Durant just kept going in the wrong direction. I think it was just a bizarre misread of the ball. Maybe it's like, remember early in Justin Herbert's career, there were a bunch of balls where he'd put it in the air and then it would travel like 5 yards more than it looked like it was
carries
going to.
Further than you expected.
Yeah, like maybe that ball went in the air and Durant just thought that was going to drop at the goal line, and it didn't. It just kept going.
So, I mean, again, I go back and forth between trying to analyze the merits of should this have worked and just being a fan and trying to enjoy the special. Today, I'll just enjoy. It was a special, fun play that Caleb Williams pulled off to Cole Kmet. The Rams looked stunned. I mean, if you are we're generally anti-momentum people here, but if you're a momentum fan, you might think, well, there's no way they're going to come back from this. How do you come back from this? That's demoralizing. Sean McVay looked stunned.
So it was Young. So Young gets pressure on him and then watches the rest of the play on the big screen, pointing in the opposite direction of the play. Like, he doesn't even turn around to look at it. He watches it on the screen and like doubles over. Hands on
incredible shot
hits. And behind him is Braden Fisk, who had turned to watch it happening in the correct end zone, and was also like hands to head, like, oh, what just happened? So like 2 of the 4 defensive linemen who were all bearing down on him at that point were like, they look completely defeated because of that play. And you're right, somehow they were able to get themselves back together and, keep playing and keep making plays.
A wild play. It made it 17-16.
And they go for the extra point. I couldn't believe that Ben Johnson, of all people, did not go for 2 to try and win the game.
Yep. Thought he was going to do it.
Ben Johnson, who's come from the Dan Campbell Detroit Lions, who've been the most aggressive team in the NFL in terms of going for 4th downs all the time, going for 2 points, instead did the standard, old-school, conservative approach of let's kick the extra point, let's play for overtime.
Now, remind me, when they had to beat the Packers, they did the same thing. So the first Packers game, we were having that conversation, right? They're down 7. Caleb Williams throws an interception, and we were like, man, Ben Johnson had the best 2-point play ready, and we never get to see it. And then the game, the last game, week 16, when the Bears won in overtime, it was 16-9. They scored the touchdown. They kicked the extra point there. So they did go to overtime. So there was precedent to this that they would go to overtime. Maybe it's a home road thing. They're at home, right? Because everybody's got these like fake rules. Always go for the win on the road. Always take the points on the road in the cold with the wind, with your, when you can see your breath, you take the points. Like, everybody's got these fake rules. Maybe it was a home road thing where he's like, we'll just take our chances at home and what have you. But they did that against the Packers. And then remember, they made the stop, and then they had the walk-off touchdown, Caleb Williams to DJ Moore. I wonder if that was a part of it.
I don't know, man. It feels like the same. I mean, late when they were in overtime and they had 4th and 1, and it's from their own 47, and they're debating, do you go for it then? And Chris is like, look, if I lose the ball or if I lose the game on offense, so be it, right? I want to make this play with my offense. try and end up winning the game, and they go for it on 4th and 1 with the sneak, and they pick it up, and all's good. I think the same thing with the 2-point play, right? Why kick this, go to overtime where anything can happen, including what did happen, right? So there's some kind of miscommunication between quarterback and wide receiver when you're driving to try and win the game, and the ball's turned over, and then it's all with the Rams, right? Why risk that? You got one play from the 2-yard line for all the marbles. Pull up your Ben Johnson with the deepest bag of tricks, with the deepest playbook of anybody. Pull something out. Go find your best play. Drag it out for this one play for all the marbles.
And the reasoning, one of the reasons you would go for it too is, one of the common ways that we play out overtime is the first team gets a touchdown, the second team drives down, and they have to score a touchdown, and they probably choose to go for 2, right? You're almost forced to go for 2 because you don't want to hand the other team the ball with sudden death. So you're going to, there are many scenarios first off, if you just call it a 50-50 proposition anyway, and then there are many overtime scenarios that put you into got to have a 2-point conversion situation anyway. You're just doing it earlier. One
of the most common positive ways overtime can go is setting you up in a position that you have to do exactly this anyway. So why not just do it now? If that's the plan, if one of the most best case scenario, obviously the best case scenario is you just get a pick 6 on the first play and game over. But one of the most common ways you would be anticipating overtime ends is the Rams score a touchdown, we score a touchdown, and then we go for 2 and beat them, right? Which is why we're kicking the ball, which is why we're taking it second. But if that's the plan, you've already got that situation right now. Just call the 2-point play and win.
And again, it's not the only situation. Of course, you can make a stop and you walk off field goal, and that's what they had the opportunity to do that. But I just thought that was an interesting. It was an interesting decision. I don't hate it. It worked in Week 16 against the Packers.
I'm pretty surprised now that Ben Johnson, of all people, is looking like a coach that decides that's not the way of doing it. I want to kick the field goal, or I want to kick the extra point. I want to go to overtime. I would have assumed, based off the way the Lions approached everything, that Ben Johnson would absolutely give me one play to win the game. I'm in.
And to be fair, it is a different situation. It's a different decision tree, so to speak, than the 4th down decisions. I think the 4th down decisions are there's a downside risk there that you're willing to take, right? Hey, I failed on this 4th down. I didn't get the 3-point opportunity, but the other team has bad field position, and there's a downside. The downside to not, is you lose the game, right? So it's a different situation. So it's not always, hey, the guy that's super aggressive, hyper aggressive 4th down guy isn't always going to be the go for 2 guy. And by the way, John Harbaugh, who just got hired by the Giants, they've lost 2 or 3 games, the Ravens, with go for it 2-point decisions late where they just lost on one play. So it is. I kind of get both sides of it, right? One play to win, but it's one play to lose as well. There was an interesting quote here, Jeff Darlington saying thoughts from Sean McVay's postgame, and this is not a quote. This is Darlington's interpretation. He says he feels like he didn't coach well, and he didn't like the early flow of the game plan to throw more than run, but the quote was kept battling, keep believing, survive and advance, yada yada. I just thought that was interesting. McVay felt like he left a little meat on the bone and wasn't happy. It's always interesting where you don't. Surely that was not the plan to throw the ball 34 times and to run the ball 10 times in the snow against this Bears defense that has had some struggles in the run game where that's your strength. It's one of your strengths. But it's just interesting how you kind of get into that game flow, and it just didn't work until they did settle down. I thought that was such a huge drive in the middle of the third quarter when they finally got their offense going.
Another interesting element to this game is going into the game, the Bears elected to start Joe Thuney, their left guard, at left tackle rather than playing any backup left tackle, opting into the dynamic that the Chiefs were dealing with last season, which is we think Joe Thuney, the left guard, is a better option at left tackle than anything else we can bring to the table. And we're willing to take the downgrade in at left guard as part of that whole calculus, and this gives us the best offensive line. Based off how it worked for the Chiefs last year, that felt like a pretty risky situation. He held up pretty well, particularly in pass protection.
Yeah, it seemed like it may have affected the run game even more. Jordan McFadden was the guy that got the start at left guard. They showed a little highlight package of him making a few good blocks in there. I always liked McFadden coming out of the draft, coming out of Clemson. The option there was we talked on the pregame show Ozzie Trapillo out for the season. Theo Benedet had played. Braxton Jones was the original starter. He came back to practice this week. So Theo would have been the choice, most likely choice, even though we didn't necessarily highlight that. And so they either thought Braxton wasn't ready or didn't trust him at all. They haven't trusted him all season.
Right.
They didn't really trust Theo. I mean, he's still a project from Canada that they've put out there this year, but they haven't fully trusted him. And so they made the decision that Tooney at left tackle, Theo playing the sixth offensive lineman role, and then McFadden being in there at left guard was the best play. And I don't know, maybe it affected some things. But yeah, they both, I think, held up pretty well in pass protection. The pass rush for the Rams wasn't all that effective.
And they were giving him a lot of help.
Yeah.
There was a play late in the game where it's like Kyle Monungai's chip on Jared Verse, basically took him out of the play entirely before Joe Tooney had a chance to do anything with him. So they were giving him help all game as well, which, I mean, you have to do. That's part of the process when you're budgeting in the idea of starting at left guard, at left tackle. But it worked. I mean, that looked like a risky decision going into the game, and it wasn't a problem.
All right, 2 plays that have to be highlighted here. I don't think Matthew Stafford played a great game. He goes 20 of 42. I mean, it feels like every game. We're on a broken record here, Sam. Every game, we're talking about Caleb Williams completing 50% of his passes, and you're like, well, the other quarterback did too, like Jordan Love last week. Stafford was off. I mean, it was a rough day. There were 4 quarterbacks playing today, and the accuracy, again, the weather, I'm a big weather guy. That matters. Mm-hmm. The accuracy was off for everybody. But Stafford missed a lot of throws here. But the defining throw that you'll go back to is in overtime, throwing the ball down and away from extremely tight coverage to Davante Adams along the sideline, and Davante throwback, old school footwork along the sideline, incredible catch, but a perfect throw from Stafford that got into Bears territory in overtime after they got the ball in the interception and helped set up the game-winning field goal.
Yeah, I mean, he made a couple of big plays in this game. But you're right, he was off. Again, because the weather was such a factor and because both quarterbacks were like that, it's hard to know how much you would say that's a bad game from him versus that's just the result of the conditions on the night. But that's now, remember, for most of the Panthers game, Matthew Stafford was off as well. And then they kept trying to retrofit him. You're like, nah, he hurt his finger. So that's why he's playing like crap right now. It's not that he's just playing badly. It's that, look, his hands hurt. It's like, yeah, but I mean, he was playing badly before he hurt his hand. This is not, I don't think that's 1-to-1. And so there's always confounding variables. But Stafford's now on kind of a run within this playoffs of almost 2 whole games where he hasn't played that well.
I don't think he could play like that against Seattle and get away with it.
Right.
Two more things I want to mention because, again, game flow wise, I'm like, hey, here's the key to the first half. In the first half, it was kind of interesting that the Rams could not pick up the Bears blitz. And a couple times it was Kyler Gordon, it was Jaquan Brisker. Brisker, by the way, 14 tackles per the NFL box score, had a sack in there, a couple pass breakups. Brisker with a huge game for the Bears. But they were either straight up missing protection, or I think Kyron Williams he just missed one, where Stafford was expecting Brisker to get picked up. That was strange. That was so the Bears were doing that, and then they also had a few good calls the other way, where they would show all out blitz, and it is a classic McVay tree move. You see all out blitz, we're throwing the screen. It's not just them. I mean, a lot of teams do it. We're throwing to the screen. Stafford checks to the screen, then the Bears drop out. And they've got dudes to tackle the screen, right? So it felt like the cat and mouse game was great. I thought the Bears did a good job. Dennis Allen, they did a really good job, I thought, in the first half, messing with protections, messing with the Rams on third down. Stafford was off, and it took the Rams kind of getting back to their flow in the run game to get back into the game and get their offense moving again.
Yeah, it did seem concerning from the Rams' perspective how much trouble they had with what did not seem particularly complex blitzes.
The last thing I want to mention, the Davante Adams, he had the dig route where he caught it, knee goes down, it gets ripped out, and they reviewed it, called it a catch. Mm-hmm. And I am seeing in this weekend of what's a catch, what's not a catch, here's a screenshot, we'll talk about it a lot. I see a lot of people comparing this to the Brandon Cooks play yesterday, and I don't see the similarities to the Davante Adams play. It's all over social media. Go check it out. I do not see the similarities. This seemed like a clear as day catch.
I mean,
couple steps, he goes down. It took a while, and then it gets ripped out. It looks nothing like Brandon Cooks yesterday, who the ball may have been laying on him for like a tenth of a second before it came out.
Yeah, I mean, there are similarities, but they're not particularly close. Like, the point is that the difference between the two, and the clear difference, which changes the rule, is he had established possession of the football with the extra steps. Like, the three elements. There's three elements that you need to do to have a completed catch, right? You need to gain control. You need to get down on, establish possession on the ground, right? 2 feet and 1 knee, whatever it is. And then the third one is that ridiculous, make a move common to the game or whatever ridiculous wording that is, right? Or, and this is the very end of that rule, is like, or have the ball long enough to have done so, right? Which is a thing that never comes up. But apparently if you caught the ball dropped and did not move, if you just hold a ball for long enough to have done one of those things, that's also having done a move for common to the game or whatever, right? Point is, on this play, Davante Adams had done the third part, and therefore, once his knee hit the ground and somebody was holding him, he's down by contact. In the Cooks play, he had not done the third part, so he still hasn't established possession, so it's not a catch. That's the obvious difference.
Okay, so did you see the difference in the Davante Adams play and the Cooks play?
Yeah, that's what I've literally just spent
I'm just
minute
making sure that
articulating the difference.
But I'm saying you agree that is a distinct difference, not just a rule difference.
Yeah, it's a distinct and obvious difference. That's why it's different.
I'm just shocked at how many people are like, this is the same. If the Cooks isn't his catch, then this isn't I'm shocked at this. Other than Bills fans.
No, I said, the third element is why they're different.
The Bills fans, you have free reign to complain about anything. I'm fine with that. Everyone else, unbiased fans, it's just not the same. Davante Adams and the Brandon Cooks play. So the Rams move on. We're going to be talking about Rams Seahawks, obviously, on our Thursday show when we preview this thing. But what a matchup this is. I've believed for a while that the Rams are the best all-around team. I may have pivoted that last night after watching what the Seahawks did to the Niners. But this matchup has been so incredibly close. It looked like the Rams had Sam Darnold's number, and then Darnold comes back in the second half. They get some quirky plays, but the Seahawks, their defense is awesome. Special teams is awesome. It's going to come down to special teams again, isn't it? Seahawks and Rams. I think it's going to be a great game, though. So that's what we have. Anything else on this game and or the Bears season here?
We learned about cayenne pepper in the socks.
Huge.
What's Aditi's second name?
Pepper.
Do you remember?
Just Aditi, K.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's one of those names I've never had to say out loud. And when you're reading a name,
it's easy.
I know who she is. I'm not going to I just don't read her last name out of my head.
Right.
So I've never had to say it, so I'll just say Aditi.
Well, also your brain can just invent whatever string of syllables it needs to.
And I've heard it a few times, but I don't,
They announced
Aditi, sideline reporter for CBS.
I don't think she wasn't the one giving the report, though, right?
No, but that's who she is.
Right. So somebody before this game, I forget who their sideline reporter was breaking the news. Melissa Stark, was that it?
Melissa Stark who did it on the NBC broadcast.
She said that the Rams, preparing for the cold-ass weather in Chicago, had broken out cayenne pepper in the socks.
And she had pepper for most of us, yeah.
And she had like a jar of it, like the actual stuff that, you sprinkle on whatever, your food. And you're like, what? That's got to be like a prank or something, right? Like an equipment guy's just been like, hey, you want to know how to deal with the cold? Sprinkle this in your socks.
It's a bad prank for a game, but yeah.
I mean, whatever. Are any pranks bad as long as
you're
having ankles?
Anyway, want to know what the cayenne.
Aditi messaged me when I was tweeting about it, and she was like, the Browns equipment staff taught her this in 2022 for a minus 14-degree wind chill game. It legit works. Mix cayenne pepper with baby powder. The heating agent in the capsaicin warms your feet. The powder makes sure you don't sweat, and it works. They talked about it on the CBS broadcast that day. And then she says, and she used it again recently in the Bengals-Ravens game, -6 wind chill a few weeks ago,
right here
when it was so cold that Lamar Jackson was sharing his coat with her. And again, she said, just sprinkle it outside your sock, and all's good.
That's all you have to do.
I'm not testing that. I might try and find somebody that will test that, but I'm not. I'm willing to take somebody's word for it, but I'm not giving it a shot myself.
We'll talk to the Rams. We'll get an interview from someone.
Did Zach ever play or ever do any of his? Do the equipment staff do that? Is McVay whacking on the plantar fasciitis?
I'm sure McVay would. Zach was always in the booth.
That's true.
When he was with the Rams. And I can understand. I mean, if I was a coordinator, I'd be a booth guy.
Particularly if it's -7 outside.
Who wants to be on the sideline in January? Absolutely not. Zach must have been pissed when they pulled him down to the sideline halfway through the season here. Anyway, anything else on the Bears, their season? And I thought, we've talked a lot about the future. Like, the future is optimistic and bright. And Caleb's going to be such a fascinating evaluation here going forward because I think he's got some young dudes to throw to. I think Ben Johnson's got something going here. I think they just have something going generally. And now the next question is going to be not so much can they coexist. Like, that was the first one. Can they coexist schematically? Because the scheme's there. The throws are there, man. Like, how do you get him to hit 5% more throws?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I'm not talking completion percentage stuff here. I'm just saying 4 or 5 misses per game that you have to tighten up, and then you've got this MVP type of case or run that Caleb Williams has in him.
I mean, the season kind of went the way we expected it to in terms of how it played out, only they'd won a ton more games by the time where it started to really come together late in the season. Like, we expected the first half of the year to be kind of iffy between Ben Johnson and Caleb while they got themselves together, while they got on the same page, while Ben Johnson, got him more within the structure. I think we did see that improvement in the second half of the season. It's just that at that point they were already in contention and kept going on their way to the number 2 seed. And then also the other element of this is like actually so much of the special late in the season was all the stuff that he was already good at. It was the outside of structure, it was the non Ben Johnson part of it. It's like, hey Caleb, we're in that situation again. Do what you do and win the game. So I think a big thing is I think he's definitely taken huge strides this season. We've already talked before about like the night and day difference between pressure to sack rate, all those kinds of things. Like his escapability year 1 versus year 2 is nuts. Now though, it still needs to continue, right? Like this is a great step forward. It's turned him into this. Like he's capable of keeping you in or winning any game because of the special plays that he can make. But there's so much meat on the bone because of this like 55% passer rate at the moment. If he can get that up, to just hitting more of the layups, hitting more of the stuff early in the game, well, then you're right. He does turn into an MVP caliber candidate and a guy that can get the Bears back to this game, if not beyond.
And then from a Rams perspective, again, we'll be previewing them and the Seahawks, talking about them all week. I thought Kyron Williams had the 2 touchdowns, 87 yards on the ground. Once they got the ground game going, that helped. Stafford makes the huge throw to Devontae Adams in overtime. Only 2 catches for Devontae, but that one was huge. Puka Nacua when they needed it. That was another key play, man. Just Stafford to Puka Nacua against the all-out blitz in overtime. Just a little, hey, turn around, catch it, get up the field. Huge play in crunch time. Stafford, it was one spectacular throw, but also just the veteran play of beating the blitz, moving the chains, and giving the Rams the opportunity for the walk-off field goal, which they hit. It was an exciting game. It was pretty awesome. Feel for the Hagel family, producer Will. But good season. Keep your head up to the Hagels.
I mean,
Will.
It's ahead of schedule, right? Like they weren't. It's
it's always tricky because we'll be there next year. It's tough. It's a long road.
That's the thing. Like the task is now to get another step forward from Caleb Williams so that you can get back to this level because you probably got there beyond where you were supposed to get this year.
Shout out to Magnus in the chat sending out 5 memberships. Appreciate everybody that's already joined, and welcome to all the new members. All the extra, the fun and perks in addition to everything else, which is mostly free on the show. We're going to go with the NFC game next, but first, we're going to tell you about our friends over at ExpressVPN. Going online without ExpressVPN is like stepping away from your laptop at a coffee shop. Most days, you're fine, but at some point, passwords, bank info, everything gone. Every time you're on public Wi-Fi, you got cafes, airports, hotels, your data's exposed. Hackers on the same network, they can snag logins, cards, whatever. It doesn't take a genius to do it either. So your info is worth up to $1,000 on the dark web. That's why I never go without ExpressVPN. I fire it up everywhere you go, whether I'm traveling, I'll be hitting the road next week and the week after, whether it's coffee runs, even sketchy hotel networks. When we're on the road, ExpressVPN has got our back. One click, bulletproof encryption, that would take a supercomputer billions of years to crack. It works on all devices, and it's dead simple. Plans start now at just $3.49 a month. That's 12 cents a day, and it's rated #1 by CNET and The Verge. So secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/CTM. That's expressvpn.com/CTM to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months. expressvpn.com/CTM. All right, we're going out of order this weekend for the divisional round just because it's NFC. We're NFC talk. So the Rams get the win. They're playing the Seahawks because they destroyed the San Francisco 49ers. It was 41-6. Seahawks are hosting the NFC Championship. And right from the get-go, Sam, immediate touchdown. Kickoff return, Rashid Shaheed, 95 yards. Seattle's up 7-0 to start the game. You and I were still reacting to Bills Broncos, doing a nice live reaction for all of our people here.
Didn't even see
it. And I
live.
look up, and it's like, oh, it's 7-0, and the Niners have the ball already. What's going on? And then things got worse for the Niners after that.
Yeah.
It got even worse.
I mean, yeah, just a nightmare of a game for them. Like, it started off badly. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed houses the opening kickoff, 7-0. Then it got worse. It tailed off in the middle, and then the end of the game was just an absolute train wreck. So almost start to finish, just an absolute mess from the 49ers' point of view. They give up the touchdown. They then start turning it over. Every time they turn it over, the Seahawks scored a touchdown off the turnover. So, like, before you know it, it's 17-0. Like, I think there was a point in the game where I think San Francisco had 67 yards of offense and Seattle had 68 yards of offense, but the score was 17-0 Seattle. So, like, everything had already gone. They were already dead before the game got anywhere.
My computer's going to explode on me here. I might have to do a restart here. Yeah, I mean, this game, there's two ways of looking at it. Seattle, as I mentioned on the review show last night, our instant reaction, Seattle's had more of these games than any other team this year, right? The times that they have just all three phases destroyed their opponents. Saints earlier in the year when the Saints weren't great, but they did it to Washington when we still thought Washington was at least half decent. They can wreck some teams.
Yeah.
And they do it in a suffocating manner where it is special teams. We said in the preview show, #2 special teams EPA per play, or just total EPA added all season. So the kick game right away. And then the defense. I mean, the stat that they pulled out on the Fox broadcast about how many yards Brock Purdy had run and all that, they don't pull that out unless it's something historic. It was like the highest number in 7 or 8 years, the number of yards that Brock Purdy was just scrambling because people weren't open and he was under pressure. And honestly, I thought Purdy did the best he could given the circumstances, given who was out there, and and then every time maybe they have a chance to get back into it, they're getting stopped on 4th down. They're getting stopped on key plays. They're 0 for 3. So how do you get to this beat-down territory? 0 for 3 on 4th down. And then you get, Brock Purdy interception when they're already down 3 or 4 scores. It just all added up, right? And lose a couple fumbles in there. It was bad for the Niners and just dominant from Seattle, whose defense I think is right there with the Texans. I still, in a vacuum, I'd still probably give the Texans defense a nod that they're a touch better. But sorry, Seahawks fans. You could prove me wrong in the next couple weeks. But they're right there, man. They're right there as a stop the run, pass rush, and they contest every throw on the back end. And Seattle's just suffocating on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best of Seattle is the best team in the NFL this season. And they've had a bunch of games where they've shown the best of their team and really wrecked people when they do. I think this game would have been extremely difficult for it to be anything other than a fairly comfortable Seattle win based off just how banged up the 49ers were going into the game and then got throughout the game again. Like, they were already banged up and lost more people during the course of the game. Like, I think ultimately just the sheer critical mass of all those injuries eventually was going to tell at some point. Somehow they got through Philadelphia the week before. We said even at the time there's a pretty healthy chance that was as much to do with Philadelphia as it was anything San Francisco did. I don't think they were going to get the same grace against Seattle this week, no matter how the game had gone. But then the way it started, it's like, I mean, now you've just got no shot, right? It was already likely to be an insurmountable task. But to basically spot Seattle 17 points to begin the game, you're like, you're just not, they're too good. You can't come back from that. And, they stuck at it for a bit and they pulled back a couple of field goals. But even on those drives, Seattle's defense was holding. They were forcing the field goals. And, 17-6 is like a pretty reasonable attempt at crawling back and trying to dig yourself out of that hole. But then immediately, Seattle answers the touchdown drive. And at that point, it's like, all right, you're back to 17 points again. It's basically game over.
The other, I think, huge story for Seattle, Sam, is the run game. And we said this at the end of the year in a couple big games, the Carolina game. What was the other game? I can't. In the Niners game, the last Niners game. Zach Charbonnet ran like crazy. In this game, it was Ken Walker. Walker has 3 touchdowns and 116 yards. Just gaping holes. They dominated up front, Seattle. And again, it was like, I know we've been talking to Niners fans and I've been picking against them for weeks and everything. It's because on paper, this defense just doesn't have anyone right now. And the fact in the Bears game on Sunday Night Football, they couldn't stop the Bears until that one final drive. And so we never really trusted this defense, but the offense would balance it out. And Purdy was on a roll for a while. And I thought it was incredible that the Niners got this far given all the injuries, but it just felt like they just ran out of juice. They were outmanned on that side of the ball. But the Seahawks run game, which was very inefficient early in the season, and has now shown signs of life the last 6 to 8 weeks, second half of the year, and in some big games, the Carolina game, the 2 Niners games, and maybe those are just mismatches for them, but that is a huge development. And then you sprinkle that in with Darnold playing well and playing efficient football, and then you combine that with the defense, and that's why it feels like Seattle's playing the best ball of any team in the league right now and capable of just 2 more wins and they're Super Bowl champs.
I mean, we were saying it when they went on the run earlier in the season where they were absolutely murdering teams in the first half and they were stomping all over them. We've been saying, look, this Seattle team might be the best team in the NFL. The one weakness or the one potential weakness is the run game, which has not been particularly good. And even at the time, we were like, and it doesn't really make sense that it isn't good because both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are really talented running backs. Their offensive line is much improved from previously. Like, it should be better than it's been. And late in the season and into the playoffs, it has been. I mean, the run game now looks really, really good. I think, number one, I think it was just due to be better than it was. I think it's just come together in a way that it should have been earlier in the season. Number two, A.J. Barner being back in the lineup and healthy, I think has been a big part of that. He's a good blocker as a tight end as well as a dynamic receiving threat.
Dynamic push threat.
Absolutely. The offensive line, I think it continues to improve. We joked about it at the beginning of the season, but Abraham Lucas has legitimately had a career year the second he put the cowboy collar back on.
Cowboy collar.
Like,
I love
the dude is bringing back the cowboy collar single-handedly. This has been by far his best season. Pretty impressive for a rookie and then hadn't been healthy and or as good since that point. Came back this year and you're like, I'm not even sure if they're going to keep persisting with Abe Lucas unless he gets back to where he'd been as a rookie or even improves. And I think it's been by far his best season. He now looks like a really good caliber right tackle the second he puts the cowboy collar on. But the point is, the offensive line's better, the blocking tight end is doing work, and the running backs are still really good. It's now a good run game.
Just to finish up on Seattle, Darnold goes 12 of 17 for 124 and a touchdown, his first playoff win. The touchdown, beautiful scramble drill, tight window throw to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Remember, after we recorded our preview show, the report came out that Sam Darnold came up with an oblique injury at practice. And it's crazy because we're now dealing with this situation with the Broncos where there's no starter, right? You're just rolling with the backup, a guy that hasn't played all season. There was a point where we thought, well, Drew Lock might be getting the start here for Seattle. Sam Darnold didn't throw a pass, I believe it was the last 2 practices.
Well, Darnold always said there was basically no chance he wasn't playing. But what we didn't know is what condition would he be in, because oblique is one of those things where it's like you can play through it, but the PR spin machine was basically putting Quinn Ewers' entire bad last season down to an oblique injury.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know he played like crap, but he had an oblique injury all year.
You ever tried throwing with an oblique injury?
He had an oblique injury all year long. That shut Derek Carr down for a season. Like that's the reason he played badly. You're like, well, I mean, if he's going to try and play through that off a couple of days rest, I mean, he might be terrible. So obviously he ends up starting, and no evidence whatsoever that there was any oblique injury. Like you would not, if you hadn't known that going into the game, you would not identify anything that Darnold did in this game as evidence of, oh, look, he's carrying an injury. Like, he just played a great game.
And so I thought he had – look, I think Darnold's got a pretty good arm. Like, he's got good zip generally. There was a couple passes, including the JSN touchdown. He had a little extra juice in there. Little extra juice. He was zipping it. So I thought Darnold played pretty well. We'll still bring up, when we talk the Rams game, it's hard to not bring up the fact that he's played the Rams now. This will be 4 times in 2 years. And right, 5 times in 2 years, but the last of the last 4, right? There was the playoff game last year. There was the 2 games this year, and this year there was 6 interceptions in the 2 games. There was all the sacks last year, but the 6 interceptions in the 2 games. I mean, that's going to be the story. If Darnold takes care of the ball, I think Seattle's going to the Super Bowl. If he takes care of the football,
yeah.
And the 2 picks in the last game in Seattle, you broke down, you were just like, man, he just got fooled.
Yeah.
And it's not even – I think a lot of quarterbacks get fooled. It was great coverage. There were great plays, defensive back dropping off, the slot corner passing off and then turning around and picking it off and kind of baiting them. If Darnold takes care of the ball, I think they have a chance to – they beat the Rams. But they're better rounded than they were, right? Just to quickly recap the Seahawks season, halfway through the year, Darnold's averaging about 10 yards per attempt, which is insane. It's a crazy number. And with no run game, right? If you were Darnold's biggest advocate, you would say, how is he doing this? How is he so efficient with no run game? And JSN was on pace. He was picking up yards per game at a rate like he was a 1947 receiver and the only receiver on the team, or per route, per pass attempt, right? They were low volume, high efficiency passing attack with no run game. The passing efficiency has come down a little bit in the second half, which it had to do. Mm-hmm. He's still over 8 yards per attempt. Exceptional season. Right, from a numbers perspective. JSN's still legit. Cooper Kupp is still a really nice compliment in the tight ends, and get Jake Bobo involved like they did yesterday as well. But now they get the run game. So I think they have – I don't like using the word balance, because the implication is 50-50, but it's answers, right? It's efficiency running the ball, and it's not saying, hey, go get 3rd and 8 every single time, or just hit this downfield pass, which he was doing at like a 60% clip at one point. So they have better answers offensively, and the defense is incredible. Ball hawks everywhere, good pass rush. So Seattle feeling pretty good, I think, heading into hosting this NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's also he's now capable of having a stat line like he had in this game and them winning comfortably. Like if he'd attempted 17 passes earlier in the season, the Seahawks aren't winning those games because they didn't have the run game to offset. Like unless he attempted 17 passes and completed them for 300 yards, they weren't winning the game because they didn't have the run game that could support that lack of production. But now he can pass 12 times for 150 yards or whatever it is, and the run game is good. So, and obviously the 49ers were turning the ball over a bunch and giving them, setting them up. But they don't need Darnold to have the kind of crazy efficiency that he had earlier in the season for them to win games, even against the Rams.
For the Niners, again, impressive season, man. Impressive to get to this point. I was doubting them for much of the year. The fact that they were even playing for the number 1 seed in week 18 against Seattle was incredible. And, winning the playoff game in Philadelphia was impressive. And, doing it with all these injuries. Jake Tonjes was the leading receiver yesterday. He came out injured, checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey. They couldn't get the run game going. They were just completely beat up, and Purdy was running for his life, and it just felt like they ran out of juice. They just ran out of, healthy bodies to compete with the number 1 seed here.
I mean, some of the numbers that were coming out of that game were pretty ridiculous. Like they had NGS at one point had Purdy charted with something like 405 scramble yards, as in yards covered, just running around the backfield trying to find some kind of play to make.
Which was the most that they'd tracked.
From 30 dropbacks or something.
Yeah.
30-something dropbacks. He'd run 400-plus yards just trying to find a play, and it only actually completed passes for 140. He hadn't found anything doing all that. He had like the longest average time to throw in a game, like 4.2, 4.3 seconds or something like that. It was like the longest average time to throw they charted since like 2016 or something crazy as well. So if the game felt like Brock Purdy just running for his life for like as long as humanly possible to try and find a play, and then most of the time not successfully finding the play, that's basically exactly what was happening statistically.
It felt like that. It was that.
Yeah.
It was something. Anything else on this one? This is probably the quickest game to discuss. So that's the NFC matchup. Can't wait. Thursday morning will be our usual breakdown for Rams, Seahawks. Just 2 games to break down this Thursday. You know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flips, or you could jump on a new spread or a live money line. That wide receiver's heating up. You could bet the next touchdown score or total yards. You think that drive's going to stall in the red zone? You take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every single moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. It's almost your witching hour, Sam, so hopefully it'll time up with Brandon Cook's catch discussion here. We're going to the AFC starting Saturday afternoon. Denver Broncos 33-30 over the Bills. Another overtime game, a wild finish in Denver, and an even crazier postgame. I don't even know where to start here. Let's talk about the football game first and then the implications of the news.
Dude, my notes for this game, I think, are the longest for any game we've had this year.
Just read them.
I have like a page.
Just read the
of
notes.
Stuff.
I say just read them.
But but the thing is, it's one of those games where it goes so crazy by the end that like most of your banal, pointless notes from earlier in the game are like, who even cares?
It's like, I really like the Broncos stunt game here in the second quarter. Like, nobody cares about that. Well, it was catch or no catch. Brooks, I got a still image here showing Brandon Cooks laying with the ball. How is that not a catch?
It's like at the end of this thing, you've got, their quarterback going down with a broken ankle. And your first note is like, well, Denver's first drive had at least 3, third and fourth short conversions, including a sneak from an empty lob. It's like, who gives a crap?
That's a good note. Sneak from empty.
Right. It
that
would
Denver
be,
pulled out.
But it's like, nobody gives a crap anymore. Like, it couldn't be less relevant to anything that you've got coming out of this game based off how it went. But it's just absolutely crazy game. Great game between two worthy teams.
I think I saw a stat that Bo Nix was like the only guy in history to have 5 rushes and 5 completions or something on an opening drive. Because they just kept running them. By the way, just warning to all of our viewers and listeners, you're going to be seeing a lot of stats. This is the first time a player has had X passing yards and X rushing yards ever in NFL history. And it's because QBs are running more than ever, so that's going to happen.
I forgot, actually, until reading my notes again, that this was one of those games where we were like, why are they never running the ball?
Yeah.
I forgot McLaughlin fumbled the ball away in the red zone on that early drive, but it was negated because Larry Ogunjobi jumped early into the neutral zone.
It seemed like a huge play in the time. I had the notes as well.
But maybe Sean Payton's like, oh, you're going to fumble in a game like this?
Not running
to
ever.
The bench with you, sir.
Yeah, I'm not running ever again. Again, I don't even know where to start with this one. What do you want to discuss here? Work back to forward, back to front here from the end? Or start at the beginning and work through it?
No, I think actually working through it to some degree, because it was a close game. Part of those early notes was like Sean Payton was pulling the good stuff out. He was calling some really good plays in this game. Plus, they were putting the ball in Bo Nix's hands and saying, "Look, go win the game, do everything." Like he had the whole game plan of being Caleb Williams, right? Like, you got to make the special stuff happen. They were using him the way the Bills used Josh Allen. Break glass in case of emergency, put on the cape, 3rd and 4, You're going to run. QB sweep. You're going to pick it up. Find the gap, find the yardage, make it happen by yourself. They were calling the good plays like that, like setting up in shotgun on whatever it was, third or fourth and short, and then moving them up under center and just running the sneak from there. I think he was calling the good plays in this game and doing a really good job of it.
I'll add one more nugget to that in a second, whether it's Sean Payton, whether it's Bo Nix's recognition, whatever it may have been, but there was another element to that. But I thought Bo Nix was playing great early on. He hit a lull in the middle of the game too. His inconsistency is incredible sometimes, right? Where he just has these plays. He's rushed. He's fidgety. The footwork is awful. I had my buddy who's doesn't watch every team. He's like, it's one of my first times watching Bo Nix. His footwork is interesting. And he was saying this when he was hitting throws. And I'm like, yeah, it's like it kind of comes and goes, right? His accuracy comes and goes. But early on, I thought he was making some huge throws. And, of course, he had the big one at the end to Mims. But he throws one, puts it right on Lil Jordan's hands. Lil Jordan Humphrey in the end zone drops it. Yep. That's a 4-point drop early on. But those are the types of plays you feel like are always going to come back to bite. In the point I wanted to make about Denver, they had 2 long touchdowns in this game. So they came back with a 29-yarder to Lil Jordan Humphrey to take the lead when it was 10-10. And they had the 26-yarder to Mims, which was the go-ahead. Like that was, one of those, this is the Bo Nix highlight reel here, leading the fourth quarter comeback at home in the divisional round against the Bills, even though the Bills came back to tie it. Both of those plays came against Bills backup DBs the play after the starter got injured. And so the first one was Darnell Savage coming in for Cam Lewis at safety. And whether it was like, hey, backup's in, we're running the over route, we're running – or whether it's Nix recognizing, whether it's Sean, whoever deserves credit for it, it was impressive because they hit that pass behind Darnell Savage. And then with Mims, they brought in Dane Jackson at corner for Tre'Davious White. And the broadcast did a good job. Like we hate on the broadcast a lot of the times, but they at least said, hey, here's an injury, here's the backup. And it's like, oh, look, he's being attacked. So the 2 long touchdowns from Denver both came against backup DBs. I thought that was well done by Peyton, Nix, or whoever deserves proper credit for that.
Yeah, good call.
Other stuff that happened, let's say leading up to halftime here, it's 17-10 Denver. It was just a fun back and forth flow to this game. And the Broncos, they score that touchdown with the 29-yarder. They leave the Broncos with like 13 seconds or whatever it was and no timeouts. And Josh Allen, the Broncos score and they leave the Bills with 13 seconds. And Josh Allen, they don't take a knee with 13 seconds. Normally it's a take a knee situation. As soon as they line up in shotgun, I'm like, okay, they'll heave one. And Allen scrambles, holding the ball like a loaf of bread, and he fumbles. I mean, this was like rookie year Josh Allen. He fumbles right before the half. Denver scrambles to pick it up. And what a fascinating fumble recovery, right? It's like if you just pick the ball up before time expires, you have a field goal opportunity. Yeah. And they did with 2 seconds left. And Lutz kicks the 50-yard field goal. It was 3 points handed to the Broncos before the half by a poor decision by Josh Allen.
It was just such a weird play because it's like, he takes off scrambling. Josh Allen regularly will hold the ball out like a loaf of bread, running around. But it was then he recognized that there were then defenders around him, and he sort of tried to turn and move the ball away from the guy that was like looking right at him. And in doing so, slowing down that amount enabled Nick Bonito to chase him down from behind. And as he grabs hold of him, he bats down, hits Josh Allen's arm, the one that's holding the ball, and that just pops it loose. But it's like Allen sort of trying to maneuver away from the defender he was running right at, ends up basically maneuvering himself into Nick Bonito, chasing him down from behind. And they end up, Denver ends up getting 10 points in like a 22-second period and really swinging the game in their direction.
And then, Allen generally, I thought he played well overall, and then he's going to have some disastrous misses. Missed throws, the 3-point fumble that are going to they're going to come back. Like those are going to be the plays that you're thinking about. The second half, back and forth plays, right? The Bills get the little RPO slants to Keon Coleman to make it a 6-point game. And then they just keep, the turnovers this entire weekend. The AFC, how many turnovers where they're in the AFC, about 20 between the two games.
I mean, this is the thing that's going to be remembered from this game is Buffalo having 5 turnovers, Josh Allen turning the ball over a ton, and not. I mean, in this, the whole offseason or the whole postseason has been about Josh Allen. If not now, when? This is your year. You know, if you can't get it done against this who's who of terrible quarterbacks in the AFC, what are you even doing? And in this game, Josh Allen turns the ball over a ton and then does not make the play at the end of the game that could have won it anyway. And suddenly it's same old Bills, same old story. Josh Allen's in tears. Deion Dawkins in tears. Like everybody, it's the whole thing. The sky fell for Buffalo. And this could have been their chance. And then like the crowning slap in the face at the end of it all is, oh, and by the way, the team that just beat you, they just lost their quarterback and they're probably losing too.
The wildest stat from this game to me is the fact that the Bills had 11 drives, and every drive either ended in a score or a turnover, and not a turnover on downs. So it's another one of those stats to our astute listeners and viewers. You're going to hear this a lot. This is the first time a team hasn't punted and blah, blah, blah. It's like, wow, the offense must be great. It's like, no, we're just in this age where people go for it on fourth down like 7 times in a game. The Bills had, I think, one fourth down conversion. 1 for 1. So they didn't punt or turn it over on downs. 6 scoring drives and 5 turnovers, including James Cook losing a fumble.
Yes, which was a huge play, by the way. Alex Singleton, monster hit on him. And that was a play after Singleton had basically goofed and guessed the wrong gap while he was spying Josh Allen. Allen took off for like 25 yards or whatever through the gap that Singleton was supposed to be basically, hey, keep an eye on Josh Allen. Don't let him do that. He ends up coming down, guessing where he was going to go, gets it wrong. The very next play, I think, was his forced fumble on James Cook. So, like, backing up a bad play with a great play and a game-changing play. Like, there was a bunch of big plays throughout the game from, like, various individual players.
Yeah.
That one from Singleton. You got the amazing interception from the rookie defensive lineman, Deion Walker, despite the done him dirty replay of the belly shot, but amazing interception from him. Just all kinds of crazy plays everywhere.
That was in the middle of, I mean, I'm just going to jump around to all of our thoughts on this game, I think. But again, I thought Bo played really well early. There was a lull where the rhythm to the offense for the Broncos was gone, and there was no run game whatsoever, right? But Bo Nix throws that pick, and everybody's like, Bo, you can't do that. You got to see him. I'm like, I don't know. Like it was a great play by Deion Walker. He's rushing the passer. Yeah. He stops. Like as people who used to try to specifically grade and evaluate quarterback performance, I have empathy for these situations because he's rushing the passer. He's not part of the coverage. You're not misreading a dropping defensive tackle on a zone blitz. Walker just stops and jumps up, usually bats that pass, but from point-blank range, he catches it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a bad decision by Bo Nix. It's a great play by Deion Walker, who, by the way, we were watching at the Senior Bowl last year at this time, right? In a week ago, which we're going to do in a week, going to the Senior Bowl. But then the Bills come right back, and Josh Allen heaves one downfield. P.J. Locke makes a great interception right there. So they're just the number of momentum swings in the AFC games, trading of turnovers in the 2 AFC games is just wild in this weekend. There was a point in this game, so similar to the Rams game, the Broncos had, where is the number? It was something like 35 dropbacks and 8 runs or 10 runs, whatever it was. And there was, and again, I understand like play calling. You lose it can get out of hand sometimes, or you see something and you're trying to attack it. So I have 2 potential theories here. Why did the Broncos run so much? Because the Bills have this, one of the worst run defenses in the league, right? We know this. The Broncos don't exactly have the best run game in the world. So maybe it's not their strength to exploit it. But it wasn't like this game, like they were in the lead for much of the game, right? Most of the game. So it didn't take them out of their flow there. I do wonder if they thought that the quick passing game and then giving Nix the opportunity to scramble in a little bit of Nix designed run game, as you said, when you need it, was the best way to actually wear out the Bills in Denver in the thin air. I do wonder if that was a legitimate playoff strategy. I'm curious if that happens next week. I mean, with Stidham, maybe not. But is that the way to wear people down? Because we always talk about the run game, wears you down, and you're tired by the fourth quarter. But you're really tired when you're pass rushing over and over and over again in a game in the thin air. I wonder if that was his way of saying, hey, this is how we're going to win in the fourth quarter. And that was the strategy the Broncos are trying to pull out. Or maybe McLaughlin just fumbled. He said, forget this.
Right. Well, yeah, that's definitely possible based off his history of things like that. But also, I mean, they made a point on the broadcast of bringing up, did they actually air him saying this, I think, in one of the rare coach interviews during the game where he actually said something. But he said, look, the bye week is irrelevant for the first half, but in the second half, that's when the bye week really starts to help you. So that tallies, right? If that was the strategy of, hey, Denver, mile high, the bye week, like we are going to be the fresher team in the second half, let's really try and wear this team out. I think that's absolutely a possible way that he was trying to go. I wanted to credit extra offensive lineman Frank Crum for the fix six.
Yeah.
In particular, so this is one where they got him out, they gave him the ball in the flat, and then he's got like some room to run, right? He's got to make 10 yards or whatever it is to get to the end zone and score. And okay, I think he'd have broken the plane anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But he was hit hard at the goal line. I was 100% expecting that to blast the ball out of his hands. But instead, he covers right up, holds onto the ball the whole way, and scores a touchdown. I think, like I said, I think he would have broken the plane before the hit lodged it or dislodged the ball. But fair play to hold on to that. I did not expect him to still have that ball by the end of that play.
Amazing. The NFL has done they've had a lot more 6 offensive lineman formations the last couple of years, and we're seeing a lot more just general targets to offensive linemen, whether it's Cody Ford outside running a hitch
for giggles, birthday present.
But there was a check down. Who was Caleb Williams check down to a lineman in the game? Right? We're just seeing more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Crum, you got to feed Frank Crum.
Got it.
So look, the Bills, they came back in the second half, despite handing 3. They were down 20-10 at the half. They did make a comeback. Josh Allen hits Dalton Kincaid at the beginning of the fourth quarter. What a beautiful throw that was, one of his best, for 14 yards. That put him up 24-23. This is right in the middle of where Denver was stalling on offense, and they go up. The Bills come back with another field goal on a 13-play drive, and they're up 27-23. It did feel like the Bills started to get control of this game. And I'm just saying, the story of the Bills season is when they're not turning it over, they're good.
Yeah.
Nothing sums up their season like this game where there's 6 scoring drives and 5 turnovers. That has been their year, man. They're still good, and we'll talk about what do you do from going here again from the Bills. But they're up 27-23 against a Broncos team that's stalling, and then it's all right, Bo, right? You have some critics who think you're just being carried by this great defense. You have some Bo Leavers out there. Figure it out. What's it gonna be? And Bo Nix steps up with a third and 11 completion, first down run on third down, and then the absolute dime to Marvin Mims for a touchdown to go up 30-27.
Yeah, and in the middle of all that somewhere, you've got Denver passing up a 58-yard field goal attempt to punt the ball. That was pretty interesting, I think.
It was 4th and 9. I got this in my notes. 4th and 9 from the Buffalo 40.
Yeah.
And
in Denver.
And they're up 6. This would have made it a 9-point game. And so they decide to punt, and it's a 25-yard punt. And then the Bills just drive down. Was that the touchdown drive where they took the lead?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that was when they took the lead. So that was the beginning of the fourth quarter. I thought that was a questionable decision for Peyton there.
I was surprised they did not kick that. That felt like you would absolutely, in Denver, 58 yards it's not eminently kickable.
Yeah, and it made it worse that the punt, if you're going to punt from the 40, you can maybe justify it a little bit if you get it inside the 5. You have this perfect coffin corner punt, you get it inside the 5, but it was a 25-yard punt. And so the Bills drive 85 yards on 9 plays. It's still good field position, but it's not worth not having the 3-point attempt, right, to go up 2 scores at that point early fourth quarter. So I thought that was interesting and questionable. And then I just set up the Knicks. Marvin Mims, man, he was the guy. I mean, that's the other part. I know the Texans were down a bunch of playmakers. We talked about the Niners being down a bunch of players. The Broncos were down. Troy Franklin went out early in this game.
Yeah,
Pat Bryant went out early in this game.
Yeah.
And Bryant had the first 3 catches in this game for Denver,
the
rookie. And so Marvin Mims had to step up. He caught all 8 of his targets for 93 yards, including the go-ahead touchdown there at the end of the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This sort of what Bo Nix is doing is with this run game that they've decided is not going to be a factor in the game, with a receiving core where you're missing Troy Franklin with a hamstring. Pat Bryant, who looked like he was going to be a significant part of this game at the start, leaves with a concussion. Little Jordan Humphrey had already dropped the touchdown catch before then making up for it with a big play later on. Like, you're depleted in that receiving core, and he's still making a ton of big plays. One thing I think that was interesting, and definitely a factor in why Denver's offense slowed down the second half, in the first half, Buffalo blitzed 22% of the time on Bo Nix's dropbacks. In the second half, that went up to 50%. They decided somewhere along the way. They
didn't have answers for that, yeah.
Yeah, they decided somewhere along the way, you know what, we're going to come after him. And it worked a lot in the second half. Now, he made it. He made the plays anyway, or at least made enough of them. But I think that was a big part of why that offense really slowed down and didn't have as much success.
The other play I just wanted to highlight, Nick Bonito had a strip sack, had one of those plays where they had, imagine you're drawing this up on the chalkboard and you're like, we got to call double team on Bonito, we're good. And he's just so quick off the ball.
It was a weird.
He beats the double team, beats the tackle, and his strip sack on Josh Allen in his throwing.
So, yeah, I mean, we highlighted coming into the game, right, that Nick Bonito is going to have a play where he ends up just toasting somebody around the edge. Yeah. Can he get Josh Allen on the ground? That ends up being one of the biggest plays in the game. That was a curious protection. I don't really understand. Like, the guy that was – it's one of those ones where you're not using the guy to chip him. You're almost sort of just widening his path with the double team that's usually a tight end, right? And usually a blocking tight end to basically just add an extra lineman. You know, it's a sort of – he ends up getting blocked effectively by 2 different guys, and the tight end ends up taking the widest path. This was Khalil Shakir as the wide guy trying to block Nick Bonito and ends up basically just giving him a wider arc to the quarterback, but it doesn't slow him down, like, at all. So Deion Dawkins, by the time he realizes, he's shockingly enough going to beat the wide receiver. Like, yeah, at that point, he actually can't make the distance up to where Nick Bonito is going to be at that point and can't get anywhere near him. And Bonito just smokes the protection, ends up wrecking Josh Allen. So this is where I think you have to have, you know, this world of, like, Josh Allen is either a failure or a Superman, right? And because they lost the game and because he had a bunch of turnovers, the analysis on the Shouty shows later today, if you're watching this on Monday, will be Josh Allen failed, Josh Allen's a choker, Josh Allen's, 5 turnovers, whatever it is. But I think you need to start looking at the turnovers. We've already mentioned one, the fumble that was terrible. No good reason for that. What were you doing? That gave them 3 points. This is a fumble, right, where it's like you just got smoked, or your weird protection call in the first place, and Nick Bonito just smoked your protection, nailed you from behind. What could you do? One of the interceptions is the play we'll get to later of the Brandon Cooks. Pretty good chance of catching it, ends up just getting taken away from him. That ends up being an interception. The other interception, perfectly fair, not a good throw by Allen, I think.
4 total turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 picks.
Yep.
He had 3 total fumbles in the game.
50% of which,
I would say 2 are his fault. The misread over the middle of the field, the interception to P.J. Locke, the fumble before the half was egregious.
Right, those are 2 bad plays. The other 2 are not really on him.
We usually, our upbringing in football. Our upbringing is to generally, Drake May had a couple of these. If you're in your throwing motion, getting blindside strip sack.
Yeah, it's not on you.
It's usually not on you, which is different from, and again, we'll talk about it, C.J. Stroud in May a couple times when there's pressure directly in your face. You're like, I think I'm going to throw it. And then you fumble. Like, those are different things. And our Allen's fumble where you're just like carrying the ball like the loaf of bread and you fumble. Like, those are different than I'm in the middle of my motion and the dude just gets whooped behind me and I'm supposed to trust that he can block him. So there's other Allen plays to discuss on either side of it.
Of course. But my point being, it's disingenuous if you're just counting up the number of turnovers and saying, well, that's a terrible performance by Allen, because 2 of them were not really his fault.
But he did have, so here we go. Nix to Mims, touchdown to go up 3. All right, Josh, this is your drive. This is what Nick Wright's texting you about. This is the drive that you need. If you're going to be called the best quarterback in the NFL, and if you're going to go get your Super Bowl, and if not now, when, if it's all going to happen, you got to have this drive. You're in Denver, on the road, down 3. Bo Nix just came through with a go-ahead touchdown. It's Josh Allen time, if not now, when. And they're driving down, and they do get into field goal range.
Yes.
Drive started with 50 seconds left.
I mean, they get that, yeah.
They do get into field goal range, but the big play, right, from the Denver 32, they go incomplete to Cooks, which, by the way, that was when you first got the tweet out there, the one to Cooks.
Yeah, well, he throws this absolute seed to Brandon Cooks, who looks like he's made a spectacular catch in the sideline, only it turns out that on the way down, his hand touched out of bounds before his knee, which would have put him in. You're like, well, right there is the difference between, like, Brandon Cook's hand hitting a split second before his knee hits is the difference is going to be a different interpretation of whether Allen played well in this game.
That was early in the drive. That would have put them into field goal range. And then they get the first down, and then it sets up the hook and ladder. Hook and lateral, man. 24 yards. It's the year of the hook and ladder, baby. That really got them into range. And then you have a chance. We're at 24 seconds left. The Bills have a couple chances. You could go for the win. You got a couple shot plays at the end zone. And then worst case, you're kicking a field goal. And the 3rd and 10 play, incomplete to Dawson Knox over the middle of the field, that's going to be the one that he wants back the most.
Yeah.
I thought it was Kincaid originally, too. The box score says Knox. I'll go with that.
That's the play where, I mean, look.
That's the one you're going to be seeing, right? Every critic, that's the one. You could have won it with this play.
That's the thing.
And you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You could have won it with this play.
And look, that's not to say it was easy. I mean, there's pressure in his face. There's a guy, he's got to do it sort of flat-footed around a defensive lineman. It's not an easy play, but it's a throw that was there to be made, right? And he didn't make it. And that is the difference. But like these stupid legacy things where you start totting it up all at the end of the thing, it's like, is this guy a choker? Is this guy an all-time great? They come down to a sequence of these individual plays in individual games that are decided by inches, by feet, by did a guy get a foot down or not in this play. Like Allen, for all the bad, for all the good, for everything that had come down to this point, it came down to this play. And if you make this play, I think Knox scores a touchdown in that play and they win the game. Instead, they still get a chance to kick the field goal. You tie it up and you go to overtime. But that was a play to win the football game, and he didn't make it. And it's like, look, it's unfair to distill an entire football game down to one play, make it or don't. But that's the way it happens, right? It's like, you know, when Brett Favre decided to go crazy and heave a ball back across his body in the 2009 NFC Championship game. It's like, yeah, it's unfortunate to be like, well, of course, there were plays he could have made or didn't make before, but it came down to that play. Like, that was a play where he had a binary decision. Do I heave it blindly over here towards Sidney Rice and get it picked off, or do I, like, hobble my way to the first down over here despite being banged up and beaten and whatever? He chose that way, and it was the wrong call. Allen had a binary thing here. You make the throw, Dawson Knox probably scores a touchdown, you win the game. You miss him by a foot, he doesn't make the play, you don't make the play, you got to settle for a field goal, and you risk not winning the game. And that's what happened, unfortunately, for him.
The difference with Favre, and what helps in the narrative, is he had the ring early.
Yeah, of course.
He got his Super Bowl in 96, went to the Super Bowl in 97, and he had his ring. And then, like, imagine if Brett Favre didn't have a ring and he had, like, the 5-interception game against the Rams in the playoffs. Like, right. He had special implosions in crunch time.
I mean, dude.
But it's Brett Favre. It's like, it was kind of cute. It's like, Brett, he's so aggressive. You know, he just loves the game, and he grips the ball so hard, and he throws it so fast, and sometimes it goes to the other team. But he's got a ring, so it's cool.
You mentioned Nick Wright being angry and texting me. He did it again this week off the back of the tweets that I was putting out there. I had to tell him, first and foremost, like, there's a bunch of tweets that I fire off in the game that are like only relevant to one play and are only meant as a joke. So like you can't come to my timeline like an hour later and be like, look at this thing you're putting out here like after an hour and a half's context has passed. I'm like, I didn't know any of that when I tweeted off the soundbite about Brandon Cook's hand being out of bounds, right? It was just for giggles. So that was part of it. But then we got into like a little bit of a discussion about how I do want to have him on at some point in the offseason to have like a serious conversation about like how these legacies and analyses of individual players are determined by these small margins, and whether you're actually really in control of those or whether we're all just at the mercy of luck, right? The Caleb Williams play we talked about before, right? Is that the greatest throw that's ever been made in NFL history? Or did he just get lucky and Kobe Durant went walkies at the end of a play that should have been like a routine bat down in the end zone, game over, right?
You don't want.
I don't know.
I don't want to be the wet blanket. You don't want to hear my answer, Sam.
Right, but I'm not even firmly on the other side of that, right? I'm not even like it's definitely all blind ass luck and we're all just at the mercy of like creating these narratives out of nowhere. Because I'm not sure, but that plays a great example, right? Where Caleb Williams did something freaky, but the difference between that being like a legacy defining, oh my God, what a play, and it being batted down and us focusing on why did you run 20 yards in the wrong direction at the start of that play, you idiot, is what Durant did, not what Caleb Williams did, really, right? So like all these things come down to these like tiny margins where, again, the one I always bring up is Tom Brady's the greatest comeback in NFL history and Super Bowl history, 28-3 down. At the start of like one of those drives, he throws the ball right into the hands of D. Alford, the Falcons defensive back. Goes through his hands. And because that happened, no harm, no foul. We continue, right? But if D. Alford just catches a football, the comeback doesn't happen. The Falcons win that game. Brady doesn't get that ring. It's not like Brady becomes a bum off the back of 6 rings instead of 7, right? But it changes legacies, right? So many of these individual plays that are not necessarily down to the player himself changes how we talk about these players. Now, where I think people like Nick Wright do have a point is because Tom Brady, sure, you might be able to take that one away from him. You might be able to take a couple others away from him. More often than not, Brady and Mahomes have been able to consistently make that one play. The touchdown throw to Dawson Knox, more often than not, Brady and Mahomes have made that play and won the game, and that's the one play that's different, right? And even if they had turnovers to begin, and Montana as well, right? Even if they made turnovers early in the game, even if they accidentally threw the hands or put the ball right in the hands of a defender and they got away with it, they then made the play that was there to be made at the end. Allen, Favre, other guys don't make that play as often. And I'm kind of coming, like, there has to be something to that. And maybe it's only the GOAT level, right? Maybe it's only if you're Brady and Mahomes, you're the guy that makes that play more often than not. And if you're anything short of that, you miss as many as you'd make, right? And that's how you end up as Josh Allen. And so you're in this world where, like, he was okay in this game. He made a bunch of terrible mistakes. He made a bunch of big plays. But ultimately, the one that made the difference, it all came down to that one Dawson Knox play. You make that, you win the game, you're a hero. You don't make it, you lose the game, you're a GOAT, you're a bum.
If he made the throw, you would forget. Look, there's
it's not that you would forget it. It's that they would no longer matter.
You would kind of forget.
They would be like the D. Alford play.
Because he missed this throw. And you could say the Cook's interception in overtime, like, again, it shows up as like Josh Allen threw an interception.
Right.
I don't think the interception itself didn't hurt, but that's a different story. You would forget the fumble before the half. Like, that's the more egregious play, but it happened before the half rather than at the end of the game.
I don't think it's necessarily that you would forget about them, although you're probably right. Nobody remembers the D. Alford play.
They do now because you keep mentioning it. Can you find another play? Can we use Montana next
time? It's the best example.
Use Montana.
I did. I used that to you the last time we were talking about it.
We'll use that for the people.
Okay, Montana. Nobody remembers. They don't even know who Joe Montana is anymore. Montana before the drive that
guy for the 49ers. I'm not saying use it now. I'm saying in the future, next time you need to make
I'm using it now.
Use Montana, fourth quarter, dropped interception in the end zone.
Before the play to John Taylor to kill the Bengals again, Joe Montana threw what should have been an interception on that drive. The Bengals didn't capitalize on it, and so Joe Montana killed them. It happens, right? It's Robert Alford, not D. Alford. Good call. Thank you, Stephen, in the chat. The point being, it would be like, and other people in the chat too, everybody that pointed it out. The point is, it's less to me that you would forget about that play. It's that play no longer matters, right? Because the game comes down to, like every game, ultimately comes down to a couple plays at the end of the game, right? And if you're grading, if you're doing what PFF does, should they be weighted more than the plays you made in the first quarter? This is the Andrew Luck conversation, right? Should you be rewarded more for putting out the house fire that you started in the first place? A big part of me says no, but ultimately that play is worth more in the game because it comes down to that play. If you make that play, you could have done a million wrong things before that play. You can fix it with one play, right? So it's not that you forget about that play. It's that play doesn't matter anymore because you made the play when you had to make the play, and that's what wins the game. The point is, Josh Allen got it all down to that one play at the end, and then missed it by a foot.
And so that was the biggest what if play, I think. The fumble before the half, the Cooks play, whatever. This is the biggest what if play because that would have been a touchdown. The other thing that I'll just say generally about this discussion, more high level rather than the specifics. The quarterback is in such a unique spot versus any other sport. I think, again, the only comparison is like a superstar in basketball where there's only 5 players on the court and you have so much control over the action. Who gets the ball, who gets the shot, which shot you take. Other sports, like you're just like at the mercy of the game flow sometimes. So like I had to rewatch that play for Allen, the Cooks interception. He could have thrown a curl for 10 yards for a first down, right? He chose the kill shot.
Yeah.
Right? He chose that. In this few other sports, do you have full control over how much, let's say, like win probability you're putting on the line on a given play? Nobody has the ball in their hands the way the quarterback does. And so he's choosing the kill shot. And the kill shot went with, it could have been, like if Cooks makes that play, or if Allen puts a little bit further in front away from the defense, legendary.
Yeah, of course.
Legendary. But he chose, we're going to win the game with this play or we're punting, basically. He chose that rather than he could have taken the curl and just moved the chains. And that's where we talk about this with Rodgers all the time versus Brady versus Mahomes. You choose how aggressive you're going to be with the game on the line. And I think that's a part of why Brady and Mahomes always they've just won at a higher level in those situations over some others.
But also did it in what had become sudden death overtime, right? Denver has the ball first in overtime, doesn't get anywhere, punts the ball away, you get the ball. That drive was a grind from the outset, right? They had to convert 3rd and 5 from their own 12, which, by the way, they got very lucky not to get like a holding call in the end zone and end the game right there.
Yeah.
That could have decided the game. By the way, we'll get to this with the Bo Nix thing, Bo Nix's injury. There were like 10 different ways this game could and maybe should have ended before the play that Bo Nix ends up wrecking his ankle on. And then if any of those go their way.
How is there so much to talk about?
Like if any of those go their way, you've got your quarterback in the AFC Championship game.
Crazy.
But anyway, Denver, so this is sudden death overtime. You've escaped 1 third down, 3rd and 5. The next series goes to 3rd and 7. You escape that one as well. Allen picks it up, or Allen dumps it off to Ray Davis, who picks up 9 yards. So you start again. Then we go for literally every series on this overtime drive was going to 3rd and whatever. So it's 3rd and 11. At your own 36, you've already been grinding through the first 2 third downs. But the thing about the kill shot is, okay, if you don't make it, but like possession is important in a way that it normally isn't in the football game because it's sudden death overtime. So I don't know that you want to be giving, like I would think, to me, it's 4 down territory rather than anything else. Like I don't want to give them the ball back again because I'm not getting it back.
For it there?
I think they should have because if you punt it away, there's a pretty healthy chance you never get the ball back.
I got another what if for you.
Either they score, in which case they win, or they chew so much time off the clock you don't have enough time to get anything done yourself anyway. I am using 2 downs to try and pick up the first down. So you're like instead of the kill shot, take the 8 to 10 yard curl underneath. If it's short, go for 4th down.
At the sticks too. This would have been.
But even if it's short, even if it's 2 yards short, then go for 2 yards with Josh Allen and pick it up and grind it that way. I don't want to risk turning the ball over because I'm not getting it back.
Really quick, just to go back to the end of the 4th quarter very quickly. So he misses the Knox play, and it sets up Prater for a 50-yard field goal. Could you if Prater misses that field goal, then you're really looking at like he didn't even get them a good field goal opportunity.
Then Josh Allen didn't execute.
He missed the game-winning touchdown. Then his kicker misses the 50-yard.
Well, no, yeah. If his kicker misses the 50-yard kick, then Josh Allen doesn't successfully tie the game. Josh Allen doesn't successfully tie the game.
So this is do or die. I'll give you one more what if here for the Bills. I don't know how many Bills fans are like hate listening to this, and I empathize with Bills fans
hugely.
And
by the way,
sad for Bills fans.
Not just them, Bills players
and
right?
Broncos fans, to be honest, coming out like everybody's sad coming out.
I said it. I was like, I can't remember a game where I feel bad for both sets of fans.
Sad for everybody. For
both sets of fans coming out of the game.
Yeah.
But also, I don't look people. Somebody was who was it? I forgot her name. Lindsay Rhodes was tweeting about this after the game today with CJ Stroud. Right, people's inability to mesh like basic human empathy with whose fault is it is weird. Like, I don't know how you can watch the interviews and stuff that came out of this game and not feel sorry for the Bills players. That doesn't mean to say it wasn't their fault, right? Like, you can still blame Josh Allen and say Allen missed a throw to Dawson Knox that would have won the game, and so it's his own fault that he's sad, right? But okay, I'm not saying it isn't, but you can still feel sorry for the dude being in tears.
That you're going through these human emotions where you really wanted to win the game for just not for your teammates and this massive fan base.
Being in tears at the podium because he feels like he let everybody down, including his teammates. And even if you think that's true, that he did, you can still feel sorry for the guy in that situation. Like, he didn't go out there deliberately to make himself the villain, right? He missed a throw. He missed a throw by only like a foot. It's not like he missed it by a mile. He had the right read. He missed a throw by a foot. And because he did that, everybody gets let down. And so everybody's sad. But Allen's in tears. They interviewed Deion Dawkins in the locker room, and they said, Allen feels like he let you guys down. Dawkins is brought to tears because Allen is saying it's his fault. Like, Dawkins is crying because Allen is sad, and Allen is crying thinking he let everybody down. I feel absolutely gutted for those guys, and I got no dog in the fight. I don't care if the Bills win or lose.
Yeah.
But it's a sad thing. This is a team that's been on, the cusp year after year after year, and once again came up just short in the critical situations. And that's sad.
So before we get to the Cooks play, I know we're talking a lot about this stuff. We will get to Texans Pats, I promise. The play before, second 11, before the interception to Cooks, Mecole Hardman. Hardman had a touchdown in this play, right? And the NFL pulled out, hey, this is the same play that they won the Super Bowl with in Kansas City. Hardman just touchdown maker here. He runs a deep out. To the broadcast eye, it looks a little low. Gets his hands to it, but it's low. Could he have caught it? Maybe. It's a low throw. Romo actually brought out, he's like, I think he rounded the route, and QBs are really good at noticing this, right? Mm-hmm. And I use the phrase QB friendly all the time because you cannot round routes as a receiver, because if you do, everything's going to look low and it's going to look inaccurate. You need to cut angles to shorten the path of the ball.
You certainly can't do it on plays that are being thrown to a spot.
And when they're being thrown to a spot, right? And so I don't know. It's kind of rounded. I'm rewatching it right now. It's kind of rounded. I think it's a little low, and he could have done better with that. That's like a 15, 20-yard gain there. 21-yard gain if he catches that ball.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about the Cooks play. They're in Broncos territory. So whether Allen missed the throw and he's kicking himself on it, or if it's Hardman rounding it a little bit too much, which, again, the history of Hardman is he's just not he's not going to do QB-friendly type of things. He can catch the ball in the flat. He's not a great nuanced receiver. That's as big of a what-if as anything else for Bills fans or for the Bills. It sets up the 3rd and 11. They go for the kill shot to Brandon Cooks. It's a bomb. It's basically an arm punt. Like, we're either winning the game or this thing's falling incomplete, and we're going to probably punt, right? Probably punt from our own.
Well, you're definitely punting if it's just an incomplete pass. But my point is, I don't want to give them possession anymore. It's a sudden death overtime. I do not want to relinquish the football.
And you're at your own 36.
Right.
That would be really risky. So there's a check down there. Like, if he hit the check down, they pick up 8.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's 4th and 4.
Now I'm going for it.
And if you don't get it, they're in field goal range.
Right, in which case, fine. But, I don't want to give them the ball. To me, look, the fact that it turned into an interception is not really – that's not really Josh Allen's fault. And I know people are like, oh, it's slightly underthrown. Look, it's within the realms of a perfectly decent pass. His receiver has the better shot of coming up with it.
It's a jump ball type of play that most likely ends up incomplete.
That his receiver gets to first, and then the ball's just taken away from him on the way down. So I don't think you can look at that and say, terrible throw by Josh Allen, deserved to be an interception. My point being, I wouldn't take the kill shot because there's a chance something it could be intercepted. Even if not via the way that it actually ended up being intercepted. And to me, because it's sudden death overtime, having possession of the football is unusually important in a way that it normally isn't at any point in the game, right? If you lose the ball now, there's a chance you never get it back, and you want Josh Allen deciding this game. You don't want your defense deciding this game. But putting the ball deep down the field for a kill shot risks that. It risks losing possession of the football and being at the mercy of, now we need the defense to do it.
So, bottom line on this play, it's an interception.
Yes.
It's an interception. This is absolutely the right call. It was an interception. It hit Brandon Cook's hands. Maybe he had it for a split second, a split second. By the time he hits the ground, McMillan has already ripped it out of his hands. He comes up with the ball. This is a clear as day interception. And again, Bills fans, you don't even need to listen to the next part of this. I don't want to even convince you that it's a pick. I empathize, I sympathize. I think be upset, be frustrated. And then with the interception, the interference calls, be as frustrated as you want. I get it. It is when there are national media members, there are prominent national media members posting screenshots. You screenshot people, zip it. That's enough. Enough of the screenshots of Brandon Cooks in the ball. Just watch the football play. Watch the play, Sam. I'm on your side. Watch full speed. He hits the ground. McMillan has the ball. Brandon Cook. If they called this a catch, Sam, if they had called this a catch, the other side of this would be the most egregious. Could you imagine if they gave him a catch when he wasn't even close to coming up with the ball by the end of the play? If he wasn't even close to coming up with it. Could you imagine if they're like, yep, catch, field goal range for the Bills, game-winning field goal, game's over. Could you imagine if they had done that?
Yeah,
This was absolutely an interception. Stop with the screenshots. Watch the play. McMillan comes up with the ball. It's an interception.
I think it was an interception. I think it's closer than you're making it out to be. One of the reasons I say that is because several other plays very like this have been called the opposite way.
We're going to spend another hour going through all these. I get it.
The other thing that I think, so number one, I think the reason a lot of people are using screenshots is, and this is why I hate rules officials on the broadcasts, is because they go to the rules official, and in this case, the rules official is a particularly clueless variant who didn't have a clue what was happening. But what pisses people off is when the rules official makes an overtly, quite obviously stupid argument that does not relate to the video that we're all watching, right? So Gene Steratore is out there saying, at no point does he ever have control of this football. Look, I'm watching it in his hands. He has control of the football right now, right? That's not even really up for debate. The question is, how long does he have control of the football for? And this is where your point comes in, right? With the answer to which is not long enough, because the ball gets taken away from him, and that's what makes it an interception. Because that's the third part of this thing, which Gene then comes out later with his let me give you a PowerPoint presentation on Twitter to try and make it seem like I know what I'm doing, right? If you'd actually made this argument live on the broadcast, we wouldn't have so many problems. But you didn't. You made an idiotic argument that he never had control of this at all. He has control right now. It's just not for long enough. Because if you look at the rules, we said before, there's three things you need to be able to do. Number one, secures control of the ball in his hands or arms prior to the ball touching the ground, right? That's what he did, which Gene argued he didn't. That's why people are screenshotting it. Because look, here's the ball secured and controlled in his hands, right? Number two, touches the ground inbounds with both feet or with any part of his body other than his hands. Yada, yada. 1 knee equals 2 feet stuff. Arguably did that too, right? Again, screenshots. Now, 3, after A and B have been fulfilled, clearly performs any act common to the game, e.g. extends the ball forward, takes an additional step, tucks the ball away, turns upfield, or avoids or wards off an opponent. Or this one that has never, ever been mentioned. He maintains control of the ball long enough to do so, right? Number 3, did not do that.
Big X.
That's why it's not a completed catch, and that's why it ends up being an interception, because it never touches the ground. That's the argument. If Steratore had come out there when they went, "What do you got, Gene?" And he got, "Well, simple.
Didn't have it long enough.
He's got number 1 and 2, but he doesn't have it long enough. It's taken away from him. That's why it's an interception." You wouldn't have 58,000 screenshots of people going, "Look, the ball's in his hands and he's on the ground. Game over," right? Because he would have told you why that's not the case. But instead, he made a stupid argument live, and everyone's like, well, that's clearly not what the case is, because look, I can see from this video right now, he's got the ball in his hands and his knees on the ground. That's why it's stupid.
And it's not, because like the play's not immediately dead.
Right.
Because it's catch, hits ground. It's not like immediately dead.
So this is
still a time period where you could rip it out. And this was immediate.
So this is why I hate the rules analyst as a tool on the broadcast, because this guy made the situation worse by incorrectly explaining what was even at stake here, right? He made the furore on Twitter 10 times worse by doing a crappy job of explaining what was going on and what the argument was, right? They then look at it quickly, admittedly, and are like, nah, he didn't have it long enough, or turnover, right? Which is, I think, is the right call. I do at least have some sympathy with Sean McDermott saying they made that call pretty damn quickly given the magnitude of that play.
They did make it quick. I think they got it right.
Yes.
I don't think that matters.
And then the last point
is... But for optics, it should have been, we're going to commercial. Let's really make sure we get this right.
Right. So I agree with him that, look, somebody made the tweet earlier. Like, I've seen them take 5 minutes over like a 2nd and 5, replay in the first quarter. We couldn't have spent a couple of minutes just checking that this game-defining play is actually legit. So I have some sympathy with that, although I think the way he communicated it was perhaps a little over the top. The other reason that people get up in arms about it is because, as is always the case with the NFL, the decisions are never consistent. So you can immediately find 3 or 4 variants of this play where the decision went the other way. And some of them, in fact, have even included the Bills. And that's the problem, is that, all right, I agree this is the right decision, but then that, by definition, means this previous one was the wrong decision that went the other way.
In the last Bills-Patriots game,
yes,
Marcus Jones, Khalil Shakir,
correct.
They ruled a catch for Shakir.
And I think that was even more ridiculous.
I thought the Rams-Bucks one was probably even more ridiculous, which we talked about. Cade Otton has the ball, knee down, it gets ripped out for a pick six.
And then to me, the other one to bring up is it was the Colson Loveland play against Green Bay, which we talked about at the time, where somehow they called it a catch live, then reviewed it or challenged it or whatever, and somehow claimed it was incomplete, even though the ball never hit the ground, from multiple replay angles. If that's incomplete without the ball hitting the ground, that is incompatible with this being an interception. Those two cannot coexist.
Yeah. This looks like a clear interception to me.
But obviously the solution to that is one of them is just wrong, and it's the Loveland one, not this one.
After that, Bills drive down, huge 3rd down scramble by Bo Nix to pick up a 1st down, and then pass interference central. Was this where he got the third? Is this where he had a 3rd down run? I believe. Yeah.
It's on that final.
Oh, no, it was the check down to R.J. Harvey for 24. And then they just started chucking it deep.
Yeah.
Back-to-back pass interference. Pass interference on 2 out of 3 plays here. Mm-hmm. Teron Johnson against Cortland Sutton. And then the last one, it was just fascinating, man. They're at the Buffalo 38. So they get a pass interference on Teron Johnson. Whether or not you agreed, I thought that was a little ticky-tack, but I get it. He did pull the arm down on Sutton. I just hate games being decided by...
That one's irrelevant anyway, though, because...
Bosa has a roughing the passer.
Yeah.
So it was a 17-yard pass interference.
It's 2-yard difference.
It would have been a 15. It was a bad play.
So it's effectively irrelevant whether
Bosa
that was
had
legit or not.
Bad couple playoff games, by the way.
Yes.
He really did. I thought he was going to maybe be a factor, but I also thought he'd be rested.
What did you say to me earlier?
Bubble wrapped him. He ran out. He had not played this many snaps in 5 years. He should have been bubble wrapped, and he wouldn't have ran out of gas.
We were trying to tell you that
at the end of the season. Now I thought you needed to bubble wrap him for the Chiefs game, but not, Jags and Broncos.
We were trying to tell you that earlier in the season, and instead,
So they go Knicks sweep from the 36, lose 2 yards, and then Knicks throws it up. He goes Ryan Fitzmagic, just straight up
YOLO.
I mean, not even a YOLO ball, just like the Pennington Super Air. What's Chris call it? For,
Moonball.
Moonball for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, Chad Pennington, Fitzpatrick, whoever you want to add. Slightly underthrown, but not bad, I think. To Marvin Mims, and Tre'Davious White gets a 30-yard pass interference, and that's pretty much the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing
somewhere
is,
along the way, Bo Nix broke his ankle.
Broke
a bone in his ankle.
The two big so Dan Orlovsky had a tweet that said 53 yards in penalties on an overtime drive in the playoffs. That's just bad officiating, right? Which is one of the stupider conclusions I've seen anybody come to at the end of these games. Like, jeez. It just isn't. I mean, without knowing what the plays were, if they were called,
just tackle the receiver.
Like that logic,
it's overtime.
That logic is just idiotic. Like, so you you can't possibly call penalties. You can't call 2 of them on an overtime drive. That's crazy talk, right? But what if there's 2 penalties in the overtime drive? What are you talking about? That's utterly ridiculous. Yeah. So there were 2 penalties, 3 penalties really. 2 of them happened on the same play, of which at least 2 of the 3 were legit, right? Yeah. 1 of the 2 on the same play was absolutely legit, and arguably both of them. And then the second one was legit. Unfortunate though it is for Tre'Davious White, who was, big mad at the play, you look at the replay and you're like, they're going to call that, right? You've got hold of one of his arms. He's trying to go up and catch the ball. You have impeded him. It's basically the definition of defensive pass interference. I'm sorry. It's, you did well. You're in tight coverage, but you restricted him. It's pass interference. So they had to call it. Now, again, does that mean, to me, the problem is not they call those 2 plays on an overtime drive in the playoffs. The problem is, why didn't they call the holding in the end zone that would have ended the game earlier than that? Why didn't they call the pass interference on Riley Moss in the other end zone? It's the ones they didn't call, not the ones they did call. That's the problem.
Right. I think they got the right ones in the end. Broncos set up the game-winning field goal. They win 33-30. I know we've talked about this game for a while, but
now we have to get to the Bo Nix part.
And then we're all just sitting there watching Seahawks Niners, and Tom Palazzolo, I think, had it first. It was like shocking news. Bo Nix is out for the season, broken bone in his ankle.
Well, because the way it broke is Sean Payton had done his post-match press conference, right? He'd done the press conference. We've all moved on to the next game. He then went from his press conference to his office, where they usually have the quick breakdown of here's the guys that got hurt, here's what it is, blah, blah, him, George Payton, a couple other people, the medical guys, whatever. And as soon as he walked into that room, he's like, uh-oh. And it's like he's done. Bo Nix's ankles, he's got a break in his ankle, he's done, he's shut down, we're already arranging the surgery, etc. And he turns around, walks right back to the media huddle and is like, hey guys, I'm going to do this now. Literally breaks the news himself to the press that Bo Nix, on the second to last play of this game, on the run to his left, fractured a bone in his ankle. It's done he's done already. Surgery's already scheduled. He's in Tuesday in Atlanta. He's going to have surgery to repair it. Jarrett Stidham's going to be the quarterback. He's ready to go. All's good. That's number one. That was how the story broke. Number two, apparently that was him effectively telling the players as well. He hadn't even gone into the locker room and been like, hey guys, by the way, the starting quarterback's down. He announced it to the world, and that was how this whole thing broke. But because there's another game going on, everyone's watching that, it's like the first anyone knows about it is people like Palazzolo and other randos posting the video. I saw the video of it that came from some random Twitter account of nobody, like tiny follower account or whatever. I thought it was AI. I'm like, how could it be possible that this guy who was trotting around, was walking off the field without a limp, is not just down for the year, but is already arranged for surgery in Atlanta on Tuesday? I'm like, what? This was 20 minutes ago. It has to be fake. And then eventually, enough people verified it. It's like, holy crap, this is actually real.
I checked Palazzolo's Twitter account so many times. I'm like, he has 800,000 followers. There's a check mark.
Right.
I don't know how many people remember
Have it been a darn Schefter?
The Darn Schefter days of early free agency where the fake accounts would come out and everything. I got so nervous. I stopped my quote. I deleted my quote tweet because I was like, I still think it could be fake, even after triple checking the account. So It's not about us in this whole thing. I feel for Broncos fans. I mean, it sucks for Bo Nix and for everything that he did.
It's awful for everybody.
Played great the beginning and end of that game. And you got to go with
stupid nothing play for it to happen on as well. Like, it happens, it was on this random run to the left where he got 6 yards, whatever it was, right? And he popped up and walked off like nothing had happened. It was so nothing that people didn't believe that it was that play. They're like, no, he said the second last play. That must be the kneel down where you can see him slightly limping after that play. But then you look at the kneel down, nobody really touches him on that play, certainly not in his ankle. And then Peyton himself apparently clarified it was the run to his left. Eventually I saw a dude, like one of these Twitter doctors, break down, what happened on the play. And it's like he gets tackled by the left ankle, but when he drops, the right one sort of flexes in as he hits the ground. That's must have popped something. But it looked so innocuous. He did not look like he was able to just, after the game celebrating, he's just walking around. He looks like you or me walking around. There's nothing wrong with him, right? Adrenaline is some kind of super drug because that went from he's popping around, he's still running, he's walking around like nothing, to 20 minutes later he's having surgery in Atlanta.
Crazy, man. A crazy turn of events. My initial instinct is like, wait, you sure you can't play? Like, there's no way. Obviously, they've thought about this. They've exhausted the options.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened so quick that they look at the x-ray and you're like, it's immediate no-brainer. He's done.
Yeah. So there's no way if it was a sprain or something, you could, pain manage it and whatever it might be. Like, they knew he's done and that's it. And so, man, it's unfortunate for the Broncos. Now, Jarrett Stidham, who had a great preseason this past year, 30 of 38. I got to get the preseason stats for Stidham. We'll talk more about Stidham. I'll save it for Thursday. We did do a Bo Nix instant reaction where we talked about it a little bit more on the YouTube channel if you want more information on that or more of our reaction to it. But difficult one for the Broncos. They're still a very good all-around team. Their defense is still very good, even though I thought they showed some weakness in this game and in others this year. But Bo Nix helped tie it all together because he did make a lot of big plays down the stretch in a lot of games this year.
It sucks because, look, you can never say never, right? Like I made the point yesterday. We live in a world where Nick Foles owns two of the greatest playoff performances in NFL history, and they were in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. That is one of the most improbable things that's ever happened in the NFL. Now, okay, that wasn't his first game in relief from Carson Wentz. Like, he'd had a couple of games of playing badly, by the way, to warm up, to knock the rust off or whatever. Right. So it's not the same situation. But in a world where Nick Foles is able to have two of the greatest games of all time, you can't definitively rule out. Like, Stidham has at least the physical skill set to have a baller game, right? To go out there and just play out of his mind for a game and beat the Patriots.
He's got a good arm.
It's possible.
He's a veteran, ironically drafted by the Patriots. Josh McDaniels brought him to Vegas where he has his most extensive playing time.
I don't expect it to happen at all, but it's at least theoretically possible to the point where you're not like, look, they're definitely done, right? But most people will look at that and be like, man, they just showed they can beat Josh Allen and the Bills. We know based off 2 games between Allen and the Bills versus the Patriots, that means they can beat the Patriots. This is going to be great. And then it's like, immediately it's like, by the way, Bo Nix is done. And you're like, well, they're not winning anymore. Like, Denver are not winning that game now without Bo Nix.
I'll tell you what, though, he could play better than C.J. Stroud did on Sunday.
That's true.
It's time to talk Patriots, Texans. But quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage, but when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or to lock your keys in the car, the Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You get started today at Root.com. New England Patriots get the win over the Texans, 28-16. Patriots move on to the AFC Championship against the Broncos and Jarrett Stidham, who they drafted just a few years ago. 8 turnovers Did we land at 8? Were there any more? 8 turnovers in this game across both teams, including 4 first-half interceptions for C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Snow game, wintry mix early on. Snow didn't really accumulate, but it was a weather game.
It was raining to begin with, and then it transitioned to snow, which Troy was adamant was a huge deal. Troy was making a huge thing of.
It's like maybe they could throw it now.
I didn't know this about him, but apparently he was like, I couldn't throw the ball in the rain. I was terrible in the rain. When it rained, I was screwed. But if it started snowing, it's actually okay.
Just another dome quarterback.
Yeah, you can throw the ball in the snow. It's actually not a problem. But if it's rain, man, I was done. I didn't know that about Troy, but apparently that was the thing. So yeah, it was raining early, and you're like, okay, maybe Stroud's just one of these quarterbacks that can't really throw in the rain like Troy. But even when it was snowing later on, he still couldn't throw. And in fact, I mean, remember, coming out of that Pittsburgh game, right? Stroud playing terribly was a big reason that game was close for quite a long time.
Like, it ended up 30-6 doesn't do that justice.
It ends up looking like an absolute beatdown, and it became that by the end. But like that was pretty close for most of the game, almost entirely because Stroud was playing terribly. And you're like, I don't expect him to do that again. But if he does, the Texans are probably in trouble. And actually, he did it again. He just that was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
This was worse.
It was worse, but it was the same idea.
Yeah, it was poor. I struggle with like where to start here, other than
Stroud playing like crap is probably where you have to start.
Let's start with the Stroud perspective here. I think you could start with they had some injuries as well. Let me just at least set the stage here. Were they down Nico Collins, who's an absolute game changer? I think at his best, top 5 receiver in the NFL.
Sure.
Nico Collins was out. They had to reshuffle the offensive line with Trent Brown injured. During the game, they lost Dalton Schultz, who's just been a great, dependable tight end for Stroud over the last few years. So he's down to 2 rookies, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. He's got Xavier Hutchinson and Christian Kirk. It's not like that's a bad receiving group, but you're missing pieces. And then even during the game, Woody Marks was coming in and out. They had another injury with Titus Howard. So there's a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball. So let me at least get that out of the way. And then other than that, it was just he dropped back 40. He was 20 for 47 for 212. I think there was one good pass in there out of the 47. I don't know what PFF's going to end up with turnover-worthy plays, but there had to be 4 passes that didn't even get picked that Patriots had 2 hands to. And I know they were like looking at his hand in this game. Oh, he got his hand, it's taped up, it's this and that. It looked like I thought the Texans were doing like a full 2015 Broncos homage, where they have honestly, I still think the Texans have the best defense I've seen in the last 8 to 10 years. I really think that. The Texans' defense is that good, and Stroud was throwing like 39-year-old Peyton Manning with no arm left. Everything was it was a combination of bad decisions, inaccuracy, and when he threw the ball, he was behind.
Everything was
ducks,
awful,
short, and then it looked like he got the yips.
Yeah,
right. So they come out of the half, and he's rushed. And so when a quarterback struggles, you usually point to one thing. It's like he's a little rushed today, right? The pass rush is getting there. He's playing rushed. Or you know what? He's just off today. The accuracy is there. Or the Brock Purdy games. Everything's good except there's 3 bad decisions in there. It felt like Stroud meshed all of those into one, where there were bad decisions. Then when he made a good decision, it was inaccurate. And then he was still playing rushed and feeling the rush. And among those bad decisions, the number of bad decisions that he made, and May had a couple too, where there's pressure in your face. This was the issue against Pittsburgh, and this is the issue today against New England. When there's pressure in your face, and he's trying to throw through it, and it's like a calculation for the quarterback. Can I make this throw before I get hit and popped? He just kept trying to throw through pressure, just panic modes under pressure. He must have 12 turnover-worthy plays, if not more, over the last 6 days. And it was a rough outing for Stroud.
It's one of the worst games I can remember a quarterback playing. Like, it was genuinely, everything about it was terrible. And right from the start, right? Like the first drive, he misses a wide open receiver. Now he then hits Christian Kirk in the numbers and he drops it. And, so the whole drive was a mess. But like it says, he said everything was bad, right? He was missing all over the place, particularly behind receivers, which was like the worst place to miss when they're running outbreakers and guys can undercut it. You've got basic misses. You've got absolute crazy panic plays where he's like under pressure trying to make ridiculous throws or heaves out of pressure to nowhere that aren't going to work. You've got crazy turnovers, like just start to finish, absolute nightmare of a performance from him. I honestly am kind of surprised that they didn't at some point bench him for Davis Mills. People were calling for it. I don't even think Davis Mills is that good. But it was one of those ones where like the quarterback is playing so badly and is showing no signs of pulling himself out of it that at some point you just sit him down because like it's not your day. CJ, thanks for giving it a go. Love you, but it's not going to happen today. Like, we're going to go in a different direction. I'm genuinely surprised that at some stage in the game they didn't throw Davis Mills in there just to get him off the field. He was horrific in that game. I mean, he ends up with a passer rating of 28. And remember, the magic number, throwing it at the floor 47 times. Just dropping back, throwing it at the floor 47 times would give you a passer rating of 39.6. So he's like almost more than 10 points lower than if he just thrown the ball at the floor every play instead. Just unbelievably bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, I'm going back through the notes. It's like the Texans get good field. They were trading turnovers. They get good field position. He heaves it to nobody, to Carlton Davis, who makes an incredible interception. So I also, like, these things go both ways. I think the Patriots defense, if you start stacking what the Patriots defense has done now over the last 2 weeks, to Justin Herbert and to C.J. Stroud, that's looking pretty impressive. So this obviously it works both ways. I thought New England did a really nice job putting that pressure on him. I just hate the way he's handled it. Just to touch on the Stroud thing, he's got to be leading the league in games where I've asked myself, is he better off being benched?
Yeah.
Just for this game. And this came out, like, I came out of the Seattle game. And Seattle, I think they have the second best defense in the NFL. Maybe the Patriots are in the top 3. Who knows? But in the Seattle game, they had 15 possessions on Monday Night Football. And it's like he was rushed, he was missing open throws, and he was making bad decisions and turning the ball over and giving Seattle more opportunities to get back in the game. In the Kansas City game, made a couple plays early, and then the offense went AWOL for 6 or 7 drives. Right. And he looked deer in the headlights, big game against Kansas City. Now, in that game, he came out of it with a couple big plays, right? Right when you're ready to write him off, couple big plays. And I assume that's where DeMeco Ryans is like, we've seen him come out of this a little bit, right? Even though Davis Mills came in. And I think Mills could hit a couple of those open throws. Say what you want about the injuries. Jaden Higgins was open a bunch. Like, he was stacking Christian Gonzalez getting down the field a couple times. A couple of those guys were open. There just wasn't a clean pass in this game. I think Stroud's best pass was a pass interference where Higgins couldn't even get the second hand to the ball. Out of 47, I remember like one pass, I think, that was actually accurate and not either off target or thrown to the defense.
I mean, he had 4 interceptions, and I can think immediately of, I think, 3 more turnover-worthy plays that he had in the game. Like, the sheer volume of, like, catastrophe plays that he had is absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, the fact that he has, throughout most of his career, even when he hasn't been playing well, made his money off, 3rd and 12, like big high leverage plays late in the game often, is probably the only reason he stayed in there. And they didn't pitch it to Davis Mills. But honestly, I think if they had pitched it to Davis Mills at some point, they had a better chance of winning this game. I mean, Stroud gave them no chance to win the game. And the thing is, like, the Texans defense was doing amazing work to keep them in this game. Like, Houston, like the Patriots offense averaged 3.9 yards per play. They did not have a ton of success. They turned the ball over a bunch themselves because Will Anderson was just like, nope, not today. Danielle Hunter was like, nope, not today. If C.J. Stroud had just not imploded, they had a really good chance of winning this game.
Will Anderson was trying to single-handedly get this game back for the Texans. He had a strip sack on Will Campbell that they were unable to recover. And Will Campbell had he had a rough game in pass pro. He had a huge fumble recovery at like the 4-yard line early on. And then Anderson had another strip sack, and then he had a second strip sack later on where they did get the ball. And it was like the Texans defense was incredible. And there was New England they put together a few drives, which is more than most teams could say against Houston's defense. 3 scoring drives.
Yeah.
With some chunk plays. And again, we'll talk about them and everything.
But at one point, this might have been the case at one point, for all the turnovers that the Texans had, 5 of them, The only one that their defense had allowed points on was the one that was returned for a touchdown on the play.
Yeah.
Like when the Texans defense had taken the field, they didn't allow a point off any of the turnovers. That's nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. The pick six, there's a couple turning points, I think, for this game. It did feel like Houston handled a little bit of the early onslaught, and if you were a Texans fan, you're like, all right, early jitters from C.J. Stroud. He'll come out of it. They got it to 10-7, and then the jitters continue. He throws a pick six to Marcus Jones. I love Jones. Great return for the touchdown. He's already a great punt returner, awesome with the ball in his hands, dives for it, or kind of gets tackled over the pylon. So that's 14-10 New England. And then Drake May hits Stephon Diggs a little bit before the half to go up 21-10. So New England has this game in hand. By the way, I never listen to the halftime shows or anything like that. I'm always doing whatever. It was on the back. I'm always doing something else. Or Ryan Clark was like giving a halftime speech. He was giving like a motivational speech to C.J. Stroud because they were asking, like, do you bring in Davis? They were asking the same question. Do you bring in Davis Mills?
Yeah.
Ryan Clark's like, no, you'll lose the whole team. You know, you can't do that. It's his whole future. And football is just a fascinating sport because we've talked about this before. Would you bring in a relief pitcher? Like your starting pitcher in baseball, his career's not going to be derailed if he has a bad game. He's going to pitch 4 days later. That's part of his job. In football, you don't bench somebody and then say, you're a franchise quarterback going forward. But maybe you can in a game like this. Like, should they have benched C.J. Stroud and said, our defense is so good, we just need to not turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And we need to make a couple throws here, and we might actually make it to the AFC Championship against Jarrett Stidham in the Broncos. And, you know, they were debating it. Ryan Clark's giving a motivational speech about what you tell C.J. Stroud. You can't lose your team. You got to show faith. Someone else is saying, hey, maybe Davis Mills. D'Amico Ryans comes out at halftime, says, hey, we believe in C.J. Stroud. Let's go. And they got back within 8. They got back within 5.
That's the thing.
And, you know, so they crept back in. Like, Stroud wasn't as bad in the second half, but you just never felt like they had a chance. And also credit, you know, the Patriots defense is the one, you know, they forced a lot of this, but
yeah,
it's kind of a Stroud implosion story, I would say, over these last 2 weeks.
I mean, he was an absolute disaster. Yeah, like New England's defense made some big plays themselves. I mean, Gonzalez forced a fumble. He'd almost forced one earlier where he'd ripped the ball away from Xavier Hutchinson. They decided he was down on the play correctly. But he'd come close to ripping the ball out, then actually did rip the ball out. So, yeah, it's tough because he'd been an utter disaster in the first half. And yet, halftime, you can kind of see the argument to, like, sit him down, settle him down, be like, all right, put that behind you, you know, short memory, blah, blah, blah. You've done this before. Let's come back. And then the second half at least was going better, even if he wasn't playing dramatically better. You know, they did put up some points. They did score. And suddenly going into the fourth quarter, it is only, you know, it's like a 5-point game. You're like, at that point, then it's kind of tough to be like, all right, now we're benching you because as much as it is close now, we just don't believe you're going to win this game for us, you know? We think Davis Mills has a better chance. And even though I think that actually is true at that point, it's kind of hard to sell that to everyone involved.
It is.
So I guess
it's uncommon.
They sort of got trapped in basically just being stuck with him. But at the point where New England, like the dagger shot came with that amazing Keyshawn Boutte catch, one-handed catch down the sideline over Derek Stingley. When that's a touchdown and now you're back to, you know, a much bigger scoreline, that's basically game over.
Patriots had 15 drives, and there was a point where they had something like 190 yards on 3 touchdown drives and two yards on like their 9 other drives, right? So most of the time they were stalling, but they made some huge plays. The first huge decision was 4th and 1. And by the way, Houston had a touchdown negated because of an illegal shift early on. That was when you get into like 4-point procedure penalties,
yeah,
it was one of those, like the shift didn't affect the play. Nice run play. They score a touchdown.
I thought live that, because it was Tommy Togiai, the defensive tackle that they put in there at fullback, I thought he false started and then sort of tried to save it by going into the 3-point stance. And because
someone else was in motion.
Because that took him into the period of time where the tight end is in motion. They're like, well, it's actually an illegal shift now. I'm not sure if the replay didn't look like that, but it also would have come in after he sort of, you know, jolted forward at the time. Either way, it's like the unfortunate sort of downside of those plays where you put in a defender as a auxiliary fullback, tight end, whatever.
Yeah.
They're not used to those things.
Right. So, I mean, imagine you spend all your season and it's like, here's a 4-point procedure penalty, right, in the playoffs. So they only get 3 there, Houston. The Patriots answered really well. I mean, 4th and 1, Texans come after May. He hits Demario Douglas, breaks away for a touchdown. A huge call there, right? I wasn't around to see the, take the points people. A lot of take the points people last week were having their way because the 4th downs were not going the way of the offense last week. But this week, the Bears got one where they could have kicked a chip shot field goal. They got the 7, and this one, the Patriots picked up the 7 to Demario Douglas there. That was a big call. But again, they just kept trading turnovers throughout the game. But eventually that booty play, legendary play, given the circumstances, what was on the line. It's a 5-point game against this defense. And it was really back-to-back plays. Kayshon Boutte beats Derek Stingley. They get the defensive pass interference call on a back shoulder. And then the bomb, which I think was well thrown, maybe slightly out of reach. I mean, he's got a one-handed, and it was an incredible throw.
Yeah, I think it was a really good catch. Amazing catch, really good throw, I think, as well. There was, I mean, the Patriots receivers, like, the offense didn't get a ton going. Houston's defense had an amazing game overall. We've said before, the one area where they are vulnerable, we said it in the preview, is they have been kind of vulnerable over the top on the deep shot, and Drake May has some of the best deep numbers of any quarterback in the NFL this season. I mean, you have those 2 attempts there against Stingley. He just missed Kyle Williams earlier as well. I mean, Williams smoked Kamari Lassiter down the sideline, and Drake May just missed him on one of those. So there were deep shots to be had. They made enough of them to make a difference. Stephon Diggs' touchdown was an amazing catch as well. Like, tight coverage in the end zone, amazingly strong hands. Jaden Reed is all over it.
Great throw away from coverage. Great catch.
He doesn't bobble the ball, just in his hands, stays there like glue all the way to the ground, survives the throw. So they were under amazing duress given that Houston defense, and the New England offense made just enough plays to get out to the lead and extend it.
Did you see the Field Yates stat that he put out there?
Nope.
Derek Stingley, when facing targets of 20-plus air yards since the start of 2024. Kayshon Boutte, 2 targets, 2 receptions allowed, 72 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Boutte got him last year. Remember, the Patriots were overmatched by last year's Texans team, but at the time we're like, oh, Boutte and May, nice connection against Stingley. That's good job, rookie and second-year Boutte. Against all other receivers, though, Stingley has been targeted 34 times and has only allowed 2 receptions. 2 for 34 against everyone else, 86 yards and a touchdown. 2 for 2 for Boutte over the last 2 years. Owns Derek Stingley, apparently. I thought that was impressive, what Boutte was able to do, some of those plays. I thought Drake May, again, last week and this week, he had some of those fumbles. There's 2 fumbles, I believe, straight up strip sacks, the ones we were talking about with Josh Allen. Will Campbell was getting smoked by Will Anderson when he was left one-on-one. Those are tough to avoid. The ones where there was pressure in your face early on, pressure in May's face, he's trying to throw through it, and you have to make that calculation, and he's miscalculated a couple these last few weeks. The only thing I don't like about the narrative thing and the thing that's going to work against Josh Allen is when people blindly say, 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
4 turnovers.
That was my point.
Right. I agree with you. Look at them specifically, right? There's 2 that's probably – it's Will Campbell's fault, if you want to blame.
Right.
It's Will Anderson's greatness. It's tough to avoid. There's 2 that you would blame May. One of them looked like a busted run play where he has to keep it, and he's just like going to make something happen. And he goes down, gets it peanut punched out. Either way, I think May's struggled a little bit with ball security over these last 2 weeks. They've gotten away with it because their defense has played great. But May makes a couple of those big-time throws when needed. I think they had a couple of short game answers against Houston's defense early on. They hit some stuff over the middle and found some openings. And so given the circumstances against this Houston defense, which, again, I think they have shut down everybody. To put together 3 scoring drives, what did I say? This is a race to 20, to whatever number I said. They scored 21 against the Houston defense. That's good enough. And then you added, obviously, a defensive touchdown, and that's the difference. But you get 21 against this Houston defense, and play the type of defense that New England did, you deserve to win.
Their defense played incredible. I mean, this should have been an absolute blowout based off how C.J. Stroud alone was playing, and somehow the Texans' defense was keeping them in this game for really most of the game. And then, once New England, so they get the touchdown, the one deep shot to Kayshon Boutte, that puts them out to a significant lead again. And then when the Texans obviously go nowhere their next drive because they were going nowhere all day. And then the next time the Patriots had the ball, they chewed up like 6 minutes of clock. Like they were able to run the ball on that drive. They ran the ball for almost the entire.
They started to run it late.
Yeah, they ran the ball for almost every play on that drive, and they chewed up like 6 minutes of clock. And now the Texans get the ball back with under 6 minutes to go, needing multiple scores. And I mean, of course, there was no way they were getting that done based off how their offense had played. So generally, the Texans' defense played amazingly, but like that. Whatever that is, a 10-minute period at the start of the fourth quarter, maybe even less, where they give up a big play and then give up 6 minutes worth of clock. It's like, well, that's the straw that broke the camel's back.
So obviously New England deserves a ton of credit for what they've done defensively. It is at a point. Here's what's going to happen potentially here. Going up against Stidham's Broncos, you're going to stack a dominant performance against the Chargers. All the turnovers that you're forced against Houston, whatever they do against Stidham and Denver, you're going to say, what? Maybe we've been talking about Houston all year. We've been talking about Seattle all year. Did we miss on New England's defense? And I don't think they've been this good all year. But they're about to go potentially on this historic playoff run, given all the turnovers that they've forced and what they've done these first 2 weeks against the Chargers and against the Texans.
But also, I sent you the tweet that some guy called Stuckey said that after the easiest schedule of this entire century, the Patriots' path to a Super Bowl is now playoff Herbert with no offensive line at all. The Texans without Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud having one of the worst games in history. And then the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. Like, this is genuinely the most charmed existence any team has ever led in the NFL. They might not play a good team in totality until the Super Bowl.
Darnold blows out the oblique and win, and they play Drew Lock in the Super Bowl?
Seriously. Like, this team might genuinely not play a good team in totality, right? Between backup quarterbacks, Achilles heel offensive lines, absent number one wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera. They've played, two of those teams all year, and they were both Buffalo. And then they might not face another one until the Super Bowl. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't even know that means they're not good. It's just an absolutely unprecedented run. It's just a run of luck bouncing in their direction. It doesn't mean that they might get to a Super Bowl where they face the first good team they've played all season, really, or at least the second if you count Buffalo, and they might absolutely be the match of that, right? They might give us a Super Bowl for the ages, and they may win it, but it would still be the most ridiculous run anybody's ever had to a Super Bowl.
Just to shout out a couple players. I mean, rookie fourth-round safety Craig Woodson during these playoffs made a ton of plays, especially in this game. He's played all season, just been this dependable safety, but he's been a playmaker here during the playoffs. Marcus Jones had the pick six. I mean, when you look at the New England secondary, Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis had the 2 picks.
Yep.
Marcus Jones had the pick six. That is a great –
whole secondary played great.
It is a great trio, and it's interesting to me when we go back. I want to do this exercise where we go back and how these teams were built. They had multiple – as much as we talked last offseason about New England needing to fix the offensive line and find some playmakers for Drake May, they needed help on the defensive side of the ball as well. And they bring in Milton Williams. They bring in Carlton Davis. And when you say, hey, Carlton Davis plus Christian Gonzalez plus Marcus Jones, you get the rookie safety in Woodson. It is a good all-around team. Caleb Von Chason, what they're getting from him. So
Chason keeps making plays.
He does. So they've put it together on the defensive side of the ball. Plus, Zach Kerr taking over as linebackers coach turned defensive coordinator this year. There's a ton of credit for that entire coaching staff and what they've been able to do on that side of the ball, because it was as bad or almost as bad as this offense and the overhaul that they needed.
So much of the Texans was like individual players making amazing plays. Will Anderson in particular, Donnell Hunter, but a couple other guys as well. The Patriots, it's like everybody made a play somewhere along the way. Like Robert Spillane makes that amazing pass breakup on the deep shot. It's going to hit the receiver in the hands if Spillane's arm isn't in there as well and breaking it up. Gonzalez, we already talked about. Jennings made a good play. Caleb Chason.
Gonzalez had the forced fumble. The other bad one, Woody Marks, red zone fumble.
Yeah.
I think that was Gonzalez on that one as well.
Yeah, he ends up getting the fumble the second time around, having almost got it the first time. Milton Williams made a couple of big, like everybody made a play here or there. It wasn't one dominant force, but like everybody chipped in with one useful, contributing, important play throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, agreed. That was it. The booty catch was it, man.
Yep.
That
was the game ender, effectively.
The Texans' defense is interesting because I think over the last couple of years, right, there have been a few deep shots that have been available, and credit May for getting it there and Booty to make the play. Snap for snap, it was difficult, especially when Will Anderson started. Every time they left Campbell one-on-one, it was a strip sack. And so they're like, all right, well, we can't do that anymore. So at the second half, they were like, we can't drop back pass anymore. They started moving the pocket. They had the snap after the second strip sack, or the series after the second strip sack. They were like, run, punt. They were just like, we're not dealing with this. Then we're going to trust our defense and hope that Stroud stays in implode mode. But they did hit that big play when they needed it. But there was a point where they were like, we just can't do much off. They tried the screen game. We talked about this on the pregame show, right? The preview. Try the screen game when you have a good four-man rush. Well, the Texans fly to the ball. Their defensive tackles are flying to the ball. They couldn't get much going with the screen game. But they strung together just a few chunk plays. Demario Douglas, Booty, the defensive pass interference. Before they started to lean on the Texans with the run game late, Patriots strung together a few big plays that ended up being the difference in the game.
When was the surrender punt that Houston had where they basically just went
7 or 8 minutes? I believe, before New England ran off. Patriots went 10 plays, 44 yards for 6 minutes, right around 11:57 mark.
That was them completely surrendering, where they just went, Stroud's not going to make this play, and we're just going to punt it away, knowing that, like, we're honestly almost better off with our defense out there anyway than our offense at this point.
It's tough to argue that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I know.
So that was, you're talking about 4th and 6 from the Houston 27. It was
I can't remember if it was that one or the later one, which was further, but had less time on the clock.
It was 4:17. At 4th and 18, they punted.
Yeah.
63. But at 4th and 18 from their own 21. But it's a 2-score game.
Right.
You only have one. That was the real surrender. I mean, that's like, you probably should just heave one.
Yeah.
And even game flow wise, you heave one. If you hold them to a field goal, it's still a 2-score game.
Right.
So yeah, that's the one that they probably shouldn't have punted. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Stroud, but it's.
He was the defining characteristic of this game.
The two games that he just played. You mentioned it to me, right? We used to analyze Stroud through the lens of I kind of like his tape at Ohio State. However, the Georgia game. Every question was answered in this one game against this historic defense where everybody got drafted. And then as a rookie, it's like, all right, he's showing a lot of the same good stuff in the Georgia game. Stroud's got it, man. These two games feel like they're right up in the same discussion we had about Darnold at the end of last season, the opposite of the discussion we had about Stroud with Georgia. Like, are these two games so bad that you're even rethinking your future with him at quarterback?
We keep talking about, or I keep talking about, these implosion games that Sam Darnold has had. I mean, in particular, the back end of last season, the Detroit game, the Rams game. Stroud is now having implosion games where actually, like, if you look at his season this year, he's got something like, for the regular season, I think he had 13 turnover-worthy plays, right? But 6 of them came in one game against Seattle. So, like, half of his turnover-worthy plays came in one game against Seattle. I think he had 4 last week against Pittsburgh. And as I said, I don't know how many he had in this game, but, like, if it's 7, I wouldn't be shocked. So in 3 games, he might end up with 17 turnover-worthy plays.
He had a season's worth in 2 games just here.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, that's absolutely insane.
Yes. I felt like he had 8 to 10. I mean, it was just bad. It was just bad.
Bad doesn't do it justice. I mean, it was abominable. It was a catastrophe. It was so bad that most people, knowing that Davis Mills is not that great, were calling for Davis Mills.
To be fair, I said, does this have you rethinking things like the Darnold game last year? Well, Sam Darnold's sitting here in the NFC Championship
Right, looking great.
year. The difference, I would say, is Darnold was like a fringe MVP candidate last year. Like, he did 40 touchdowns. I mean, he had put up some sick numbers. Now, Stroud was fantastic as a rookie. But are we going to go back and say, he was also in a red-hot Shanahan scheme. He's top 3 in yards per attempt with Brock Purdy, Shanahan scheme. Bobby Slowick, Shanahan scheme. Tua, Shanahan scheme. Like, the 2023 season, that scheme was dominating and just hasn't been the same since.
This year, I think, has been concerning. Last year, people, I think, made a big deal out of a sophomore slump that I think was more in optics and output than it was in actually his performance, because I think the offensive line was so bad last year that I actually don't think he played that much worse than he did as a rookie. It's just that the results were a lot worse. This year, though, I think he's played significantly worse, and the line has been better, and the receivers have been better. Like, the things around him have improved, and he's gotten worse. That, and he's now capping it with, like, one of the worst playoff performances of all time, like the back-to-back games. That's a problem. Like, whatever about – so if you wanted to sort of frame this as, like, like a straight arrow downwards, I think that would be wrong. I think the first 2 years were like year
Closer
one.
Closer to even.
And year one was really impressive. Year two, statistically, and didn't look as impressive, but I think actually might have been, or at least close. And then year 3, I think, has been a significant step backwards.
Yeah, that would be my concern. I mean, the number of times during the draft and offseason we're going to say progression's not linear.
Right.
I will point to this, right? You don't just have – if you have a good rookie season, it doesn't mean wait till you're in year 3, everything's going to be great. It's actually much more of a challenge than that. Yeah. So I really wonder – Houston, by the way, final 8 team over the last 3 years. Stroud has been a big part of that on the positive side. But I wonder how much the last 2 games, they scored 30 points off 2 defensive scores on Monday night against Pittsburgh. The defense has been so good this year, and all they needed was half as many turnovers, and maybe they win that game.
But he's now in the same kind of area of Bryce Young, where it's like, I don't know what you do anymore, right? Like, you've seen things from him to say he's a better player than what you're seeing sort of most games right now, right? But he's in the same world now of, like, they're both question marks. Like, I think you'd pick up the 5th-year option in either guy, but next year is huge for either one of them to try and show that they deserve, the big contract that's coming down the line, like the second contract in the NFL. Bryce Young, we were talking about, maybe they find some kind of Jordan Love compromise contract to do instead of the 5th-year option thing. Stroud, I doubt, because he was so impressive year 1, I don't know that he would accept that. So you're in a really tough spot of, like, picking up his 5th-year option and then just hoping he bounces back next year. And if he doesn't, who the hell knows what you do?
It's such a it's a fascinating time really quick, too, because you have the 20 draft class where everybody was pretty good, right? Burrow, Hurts, Herbert, Love, they all get paid. 21, it's pretty much only Trevor Lawrence who has a second contract. 22 was the Kenny Pickett draft. There are no quarterbacks except, Malik Willis is going to become a free agent. 23, you have Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, where we're like, I think they're starters in the NFL, but do you want to pay them? And that's it. And then you have 24, where, like, everybody's going to get paid. Now it's Caleb and Drake and Jaden Daniels. You've got this window where it's like there hasn't been a class paid for a while, and the next 2 up are going to be Stroud.
But also, I can't think of somebody whose career looks the way Stroud's does now, depending on what he does next year.
You know who? Derek Carr. My original comp was Derek.
Because even Baker was, like, going into this year, like,
he was up, down, up.
But so he was up. At this point in Baker's career, we were like, he's on his way to a $100 million contract.
He just won a playoff game with the Browns.
Then week 2, he hurt his shoulder, and the whole thing fell apart.
Right.
But at this point, like right now, we were really high on Baker Mayfield. Like, the dude's about to cook next year. He's going to get himself the $100 million payday. He's the answer. Maybe Derek Carr is actually the answer of the guy who started off really hot, fell away, and now you're in this weird halfway house of I don't know what to do with him.
Just to acknowledge it quickly, I do see the chat mentioning, and I did want did I mention the hand injury for Stroud? Like, they were looking at his hand. If he had a hand injury today, I think the throwing conditions were tough.
I said this to you earlier,
I
we're
know.
in a golden age
of
broadcasts blaming every crap quarterback game of him.
It's all the hand injuries.
Him hitting his hand on a guy's helmet and being like, look, what more can you do now? His hand's obviously hurt. He can't possibly be expected to throw. All right, but he was playing like this last week. And he started the game playing like
maybe the hand injury started last
one of
week.
the first things he did was miss a wide open wide receiver. Like this didn't start the second he hurt his hand. And by the way, it's not like they were working on his hand constantly. I'm sure his hand didn't feel great once he hit a guy's helmet, but I don't think that was the reason he was playing like crap. It's also, by the way, the hand doesn't explain like, oh, I'm under pressure. Like, what? That's not a hand problem. Like, what are you talking about?
That's what I mean. It wasn't one thing that made this bad. Bad decisions, throws to nowhere, throwing under pressure, poor accuracy, and then it felt like rushed, yips, whatever it was.
You know, I was telling you earlier that I've pulled one of those stabilizing muscles on my back again, the same one.
Oh, is it back in order now?
I can't tell you how much that just hurt it by doing the Stroud impression.
That's what you get.
I honestly, almost had to stop talking completely there because the pain.
What muscle is it? Where is?
So it's kind of right above
stabilizer.
It's like a kidney. It's like right above my kidney on the right side, right? Somewhere deep in your core, right? That doesn't do anything useful, but is quite central apparently to a lot of movements that you make and don't know about it until the muscle's wrecked. And then just like I thought when I was walking scouter, I don't think it might. Maybe me and Sam Darnold having a oblique.
I was going to say, you know what Darnold.
I don't think it's my oblique though.
See what he used to get ready for the game. He used it for the podcast.
Toradol, I think, was what Shanahan was saying. I could do with some of that right now. The the one that really, when I was walking, she was doing her golf thing, right? I was walking with her along the golf, the holes. And they had a hole that went over like a bridge that was constructed of railway sleepers. And railway sleepers are not even, right?
Yeah.
So just with one being like half an inch lower than the next, the next step went half an inch further down. This muscle fired to uneven ground, hit it, stabilize. And it fired, and I honestly almost hit the ground. Like I almost fell to my knees just walking across a bridge. When this muscle just fired, it just dropped to the ground. I told you earlier, I almost fucking drove off an overpass because as I was turning
right in the middle of your back.
Yeah. But like on the right side, about halfway up, and it just went like, and I like if it wasn't for the fact that my arms were holding the wheel that way, I would have just been like off the thing. It's brutal. Anyway, point is, doing my Stroud impression there hurt a lot.
Really quick, just to put a bow on the game. New England's in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Year one of Mike Vrabel. They were picking third just 2 years ago, picking fourth last year. Pretty quick turnaround here.
Yeah.
Hit on some draft picks. Again, I want to maybe Wednesday we'll go through the final four teams and kind of go through how they got here, do a little history and how did we get to this final four. But impressive year one. I think Drake May had some ups and downs, but made some huge throws when he needed to. And Diggs, Booty, Douglas, big plays when they needed to. And just credit to their defense, man. They, as poorly as Stroud played, they had to cause some of it on New England's side and then take advantage of the turnover-worthy plays, which they did. Yeah,
look, I think the two things can coincide. We can say, look, New England's defense played very well, and they made a bunch of plays, and they made life difficult at the same time as Stroud was busy having some independent implosion by himself, right? Like you mentioned the Nico Collins being out. Obviously, Nico Collins being out is going to affect the game. I don't think that his supporting cast had much of an impact whatsoever on the way he was playing in this game. Like, he started off playing like a guy who was nervous, for want of a better term, and then he just spent the entire game playing like... Honestly, you've seen the replacements, right? That speech that Shane Falco gives about quicksand, right?
Yeah.
You start off, you make a mistake, you try and make another mistake. You dig, and you just keep sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. Like he gives this 60-second speech about how he imploded in the Sugar Bowl back for Ohio State or whatever it is, and that's like his character in this film. That was Stroud. Stroud played like Sugar Bowl Shane Falco with the quicksand. And he made one mistake to begin with, and then he just kept trying to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and it got worse and worse and worse. I don't think his supporting cast had much to do with it. I don't think the Patriots' defense had much to do with it. I think Stroud was on his way to a nightmare almost regardless of what was up against him.
I don't want to belabor the point. So I think we're going to have this conversation more throughout the offseason when we get into, Texans analysis and what they need and how they, where they go forward. I think we'll at least bring it up. And what do you do with that? What do you do with the finish to the season when you've built such a great defense? And honestly, I think they've done a lot of nice things offensively.
Yeah.
And still, have some work to do going forward. For New England, they're going to Denver. Haven't won in Denver. I don't think in the playoffs at all, but haven't faced a backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham. Did you see the let's finish this show. Did you see the tweet from one Nick Foles?
No.
Nick Foles. I'd have to look. This might be his very first tweet of all time. It now has 12.6 million views.
What?
Note for Broncos and their fans. I know it has been an emotional 24 hours.
Yeah.
I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship-type games.
Good tweet.
End tweet.
There's
Nick
that.
Foles.
There's also the Ben DiNucci tweet because they just signed Ben DiNucci, who'd been there before.
Oh, Ben's got a great.
He was like
Team 9 here.
He's like, as luck would have it, I've got some availability. So I hear there's a team in need of me and ready to go. So Ben had a good tweet as well. It's a vintage age for backup quarterback.
Right?
Yeah, they've signed him. Like he was
squad.
there. He was there. Yeah, previous on their practice squad. No, then they cut him, and he had that tweet about the airport beer.
The airport beer is like nothing. It's like they're getting cut by the 8th team beer
right
at the airport.
And now he had another tweet. I didn't. It's somewhere. Ben DiNucci. Find it.
Good for Ben.
He was basically like, the team has been. I hear a team has been found in need. As luck would have it, I've got a window in my schedule or something.
Go get paid, Ben.
Yeah, here we go. It's come to my attention that a team may be in need of my services. Good thing my schedule's open this week. Broncos country, let's go get a Super Bowl, ?
That's good for Ben. Good for Ben DiNucci.
Yeah. So, with Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci, they're ready to go.
He should be the captain of the backup quarterback house.
The house, yeah.
The house.
Well, now that Bruce is busy coaching.
Bruce. Oh, we need some tell-alls at some point.
Ben DiNucci,
I just heard a hilarious story.
All the greatest backup quarterbacks are not in the backup quarterback commercial, right? Josh Johnson, who's been at every backup team ever.
He's the captain.
He's not in that commercial. Now, okay, he's got his own mobile network commercial.
We're done analyzing
he's not
football
on it.
games.
And Ben DiNucci doesn't have his commercial.
Now it's just delirious. It's almost 1 a.m. time. How long did this show go? For 4 games.
Quite a long
One
time.
of which we didn't even talk about that much. Niners, Seahawks. Oh, I love football. This is fun. Crazy weekend. You're going to do the watch-along tomorrow night still?
Apparently, yeah.
Kelly's upset. I'm out of the house again, but what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah, she's going to be a big man.
Oh, yeah. One more game, though. One more game. We'll do a watch-along tomorrow night for everybody. Open to everyone. So you get a little insight into, how we hang out with our members-only watch-alongs. We're going to do that tomorrow night. Miami, Indiana. And it could be tonight. It's tonight, really. It's Monday.
It is, yeah.
I just saw they had a big media party. We should go to the national championship for the media parties.
It's a bit late now.
In the future. Well, I'm just saying, going forward.
Yeah.
We missed it. I hope there's a good media party in San Francisco this year. It really makes or breaks the week.
Where would it be?
Alcatraz. They're gonna give us. Oh, I thought you were laughing at me and you blew a muscle.
I did.
You pulled it.
The laughing.
It's gone.
The laughing.
Oh, I'm too funny for you.
The laughing hit
I
it.
hurt you.
So.
I hope we're at Alcatraz. The first media party I ever went to. This show's over. The first one I went to was at
Play the music.
like the Dinosaur Museum in Houston.
Oh, Houston. Yeah.
In Houston, I'm just sitting there with like skeletons of T-Rex crushing some prime rib or whatever they had. It was great. Good food. It was really good. Every media party's been pretty good except Vegas.
Vegas was terrible.
Arizona, outstanding. New Orleans, outstanding. Hoping San Francisco's good.
Yeah, I don't know where I'll be, but hopefully it'll be good.
But somewhere in Fisherman's Wharf, maybe. I don't know. Just get some seafood. Hopefully it's good.
Doesn't feel like a party venue, is it?
Probably not. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Well, I was scared when in Arizona they took us 45 minutes in a bus to a farm, but it worked out well.
Yeah.
It worked out. It was a good venue.
Maybe it'll be like a winery place.
Oh, a winery.
Somewhere.
Rick must know.
Yes.
Rick should come out. Let's go. No Cal.
Let's go. Let's get out of here.
All right, that's it for us today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Wednesday and Monday night. Check the mic.